Okay, we will call to order the Architectural Board of Review for Tuesday, September 2nd. Let's start with roll call, please.
Thank you. I'll proceed with roll call. Chair Anderson,
Here.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Here.
Board Member Anderson,
Here.
Board Member Noon,
Here.
Board Member Six.
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay, we will start with general business for public comment. Any member of the public may address the board for up to 2 minutes on any subject within its jurisdiction that is not on today's agenda.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for general public comment. However, if anyone wishes to make a comment, a general public comment, they may fill a slip out and bring it to me. Now we will turn our attention to virtual attendance, and at this time I have no hands raised for general public comment virtually, and we did not receive any written correspondence for general public comment. So at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Thank you. We will close public comment and move to the approval of the minutes from the meeting on August 4th.
So moved.
See it first?
I don't know. Yeah, okay. I'll second. Any discussion? Okay, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, then the approval of the minutes for the meeting. Can we do both of them at the same time? Oh, separate. Meeting of July 28th. Consent meeting for July 28th.
So just one item for that meeting, 9:15.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, and the consent meeting on August 4th.
I'll move to approve these minutes.
Second?
Any discussion? Okay, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, and then ratification of action taken on the consent calendar for August 25th and September 2nd.
I believe separate.
Okay, for August 25th then.
So we had a review after final 401 and a half Old Coast Highway. This was continued indefinitely to consent with following comments: review existing parking condition area from the new doorways, change the window in the bedroom of Unit 6 to be shifted around for privacy. 3, bathroom window on the ground floor unit at bottom floors to be opaque and tempered. 4, applicant to explore additional screening for privacy for the adjacent apartment at 407 Old Coast Highway. That was item A. Item B, 401 West Los Olivos. Just replace aluminum windows with vinyl windows, other such exterior changes to the project site there. That received project design approval and final approval with the following comments. The board approves the project as proposed. The board approves the proposed replacement and changes of the aluminum windows to vinyl for the entire complex. In addition, the improvements to light fixtures, balcony guardrails, and stair rail changes were approved as well. Project compatibility findings were made. Item 3, 3400 State Street. proposal for upgrades to the existing parking lot to accommodate ADA upgrades, new landscaping and site work. That project received project design and final approval with the minor zoning exception approvals for the landscaping. And that was it for that meeting.
I'll make a motion to ratify those actions.
I'll second it.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, and then ratification for September 2nd.
So we don't have the minutes in front of us today, but one item was heard. That was for concept review for 411 East Canaan Perdido Street. And that received continue indefinite with positive comments for project design approval and final approval. It was exterior changes, roll-up doors, site fencing. So that project site there, so.
I'll move to ratify.
I'll second.
I had a question on that item. What was the date of construction on that, and did it have any historic designation?
No historic designation, and I don't know off the top of my head the date of construction for that project.
I only asked because it was a classic mid-century modern, like some of the board members here.
Well, I will say they aren't touching the front facade, which had the majority of those detailing, and we gave them some direction on some of the finishing, so.
Very good, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, any announcements, requests by applicants for continuances and withdrawals, future agenda items, or appeals?
No announcements, requests by applicants for continuances and withdrawals, future agenda items, or appeals. None of
Okay.
those.
Any subcommittee reports? I don't think we have any. Okay, let's move on to item number 1. It's a continued item for project design approval, 1611 Castillo Street. Proposal for 5 new residential units under the city's average unit density incentive program with 5 vehicle parking spaces, 4 spaces provided in covered carports, and 1 uncovered accessible space. The existing development includes a 3-unit apartment building with 3 covered parking spaces and is proposed to remain. Building permits are under review for site improvements, including a new driveway, parking area, trash room, and site landscaping, and for 2 new detached 1-story special accessory dwelling units. Project qualifies for an exemption from further environmental review under section 15301. Interesting. Project design approval is requested. Project requires compliance with the project compatibility findings and the urban design guidelines, last reviewed on August 4th, 2025. Welcome back. Do we have anything from staff, or are you here for another project?
Afternoon, board members. Ted Hamilton, Rule Acting Design Review Supervisor. No initial comments from me at the moment. I'm just
Okay.
here to assist with this project.
Okay, great. Okay, do we have our minutes from last meeting? Oh, just turn it off and back on. Oh. Okay. Okay, we also have a screen out over here.
It just needs to be, I think that cord's unplugged.
Okay, did everyone check the minutes? Okay. Oh, I see a blue light. There we go. Okay. Okay, well, welcome back. Please introduce yourselves. You'll have 15 minutes, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Ellen Bilston Architecture and Planning.
Scott Stanky, Bilston Architecture and Planning.
And Krista Vorse, representing Charles McClure for Landscape Design.
So thank you for having us. We saw you guys last month and took a lot of what was said to heart, as we've tried to do every step along the way. We think we've got it this time. First off, we started by taking a look at some of the design references that were made during the conversation last time. So this sheet shows two examples of what was mentioned. The one at the far left is an Irving Gill multifamily project. And then at the far right is the Carrillo project that our office did back in 2011 that was referred to by member, Sofrin, I believe. So we wanted to just bring those visually to the table, so we have those to look at. We were also taking a look at other examples, and we found a Luda Maria Riggs stucco volumetric project that had very limited number of windows, some interesting scuppers off the parapet roof and flat roof. We included this little vicinity map down below for the context of where that Carrillo project is located, also in a very eclectic neighborhood, much like the one that we're at on Castillo and Arriaga. So just wanted to share that this was deemed to be an appropriate solution, albeit years ago, around 2011, but rather similar in the massing and detailing that we're presenting today. So with all that in mind, we went back and looked at our elevations some more. So we'll fast forward to the elevations, since it was pretty recently that we gave you the full presentation. So you'll see that we'll respond to each of the items in the motion, first being the metal awnings. So we, in looking at other examples, realize that that is not something that one typically sees in this style of architecture, so they were removed. So we no longer have any metal awnings. There was commentary about the treatment of the parapets. Last time we were here, we had these raised corner details at the parapet level, and we have removed those as well, and those are now what you see in these elevations. House numbers used to be mounted to those metal awnings. They are now mounted to the wall, and obviously not attached to metal awnings that aren't there anymore. And then proportions of windows, especially the horizontal windows, we went through and looked at all the windows, and we've got them very regularized in their dimensions. We sometimes have groups of 2, sometimes have groups of 3. We added transoms to the upstairs windows to work with the scale of things. And then the railing design was one of the items, and those used to have horizontal balusters, and they now have vertical ones, vertical iron balusters, no more horizontals. With that, I will hand it to Krista. Another of the comments, although not part of the motion, was that we should provide a preliminary landscape plan. And so she will speak to that, and we'll look at the 2 sheets that we've submitted of the landscape plan.
Okay, so I understand you're familiar with what's there. Everything that Charles did was to be very low maintenance, very low water usage, except for that little small but impactful grass area that he thought was real important to have real grass, and a kid can really feel the earth there and make that a nice area that also goes, because it's right next to the handicap parking space.
Can you just point to where she's
Oh,
speaking?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm kind of going all over the place. He was making a big point that, and there's not always going to be someone in that handicap spot, that just makes a really nice area for some kids to go from the grass with the star jasmine to, go right over where the handicap spot is into that wonderful sitting area for families. So everything he did is also really low maintenance, so it should look really nice for many years to come. What else? Did anyone have any questions, first of all, or comments about the
So
landscape?
this time is a presentation, and
Yeah.
we'll ask our questions.
Okay,
after
you
public
asked, thank
comment.
you,
Yeah.
thank you, okay. Yeah, that would be great. So, it might be actually better to go to actually go to the plans, and then I could, so if we were to go on the east side, that's going to be a 6-foot black chain link fence that is going to basically disappear because all the vegetation is going to push in between it, and you won't see it, and we'll have some really wonderful, all low maintenance and beautiful trees all filling that. And then on the south side in the back, that's also going to be the 6-foot chain link fence. And those are going to be laurels. They're going to be all along there. And then on the west side, let's move over to that fencing. That's going to be a rebuild of a 6-foot wood fence with these narrow kind of column trees, these ferns with a little bit of California grape going along there. Then you want to come to the front. There's things I'm thinking they're probably thinking through. That on the right is, we're going to put that fence that's now 6 feet tall, we're going to bring that back 3 feet and bring that down to 42 inches. And then in the parkway, what's already the existing gravel in the front here, I'm sorry, down lower, that we're going to put in some of this Carfax, which is a small grass that's going to go about a foot high and about 30 inches wide, and have that popped in. And then across the little walkway, you're also going to have some of that grass, and then a really nice hawthorn, which is that 5-gallon, which is dark green, always looks great. And then behind it, the O is a olive shrub. So you can have that contrast with this really wonderful gray green next to the dark green underneath. And it's just going to go from low to high. And then we're also going to have that R along, if we're going to go along the walkway. Sorry, I'm going to get, if I get to do this more often, I'm going to get really good at this. Okay, then you're going to have more of that R is more of that hawthorn, which is just sturdy and always looks really good. And then those huge trees with the shade, and those are medallion. See, I wish I had it all down here. So these are, golden medallion trees. So you're going to have some aloe in there. You've got some strawberry, Oregon grape, agapanthus, lily of Nile. What else?
We do have kind of, we
Yeah.
took it into a visual, kind of given the
Yeah.
idea that they'll get to see.
We'll
Yeah.
show a lot of this in the video.
Thank you.
that we'll get
Okay, I was
to in a
getting
few
really
minutes.
into it now. Cut me off.
Great, thank you, Krista. We'll carry on then with some visual aids that are suggested supplements to the elevations. So we've done on this additional sheet, since the last time you saw this, in the lower right is a little map that shows you the 10 closest properties. So it was suggested that we provide that to assist with seeing the compatibility of our solution. So we start on the other side of the street, which is the image number 1 along Castillo. So we're just going house by house along that side and showing how we have 1 story, we have 2 stories, we have a lot of stucco finishes on the walls, we have these regular vertically proportioned windows. Image number 8 is the existing building on the property where we're going to add the AUDs. down below is the neighbor, again, a stucco white building, to be in the context of what we're doing. And then it continues from there with stucco and regular-sized windows. We also did some photo simulations to assist with how this is going to fit into the context of the neighborhood. This is the before we do the project, and then the next image is after we do the project, and then coming from the Arriaga on-ramp. This is driving at the intersection of Castillo and Arriaga, headed towards the on-ramp. So afterwards, and I apologize, these were not updated since the last time we presented this. And we didn't put landscaping either, that's right. Yeah. So these are ones that we had seen earlier, but it gives you an idea of the impact on that intersection. And I think that's it for photo sims, right? So then the next thing is we'd like to share a video with you that we think addresses a lot of the urban design guidelines that we need to demonstrate how we've addressed.
I've got it over here.
Yeah.
I'm going to start it now, so if you want to talk through it, you can.
Yeah, we will. Thank you, Will. So we start by being in the sort of drive courtyard space in the center, the existing building to the left, and our new buildings across the top and along the right. Then we have an aerial view coming around, coming along Castillo, around to the other side, which is Arriaga, the chain link fence along there, and showing the context of that existing building in relation to these new ones. This is roughly the pedestrian experience, walking along there, seeing the entry points to the units directly off of the sidewalk, the landscaping that Krista described for us, and the context that that all takes together. Now we're coming around the corner onto Arriaga with the chain link and the bus stop, which is one of the other urban design elements. The neighborhood stop is, an adjacent element that's already there. And then we see the front of the units along Castillo, looking along the driveway that brings you down to where the carports are. A nighttime view, roughly, to give an idea what that would be like. This is a view from the low end of the units, a close-up of a type of exterior light fixture that we would have on the building, stepping out of the driveway area, showing the context of the landscape. These new trees that Krista described for us in that sort of median area, in the limited place of landscape, we thought that, really playing up some of the scope of the landscape was going to be really helpful to making it feel like a green and welcome space. The bike room is another of our urban design elements, as is the parking. And then the entire arrangement is roughly like a courtyard type of open space, of course sharing the parking and driving function with places for people to spend some time outdoors. We wanted also just to make sure that we talk about the alternate open yard calculations that we had done, so that that's part of our consideration today. And that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will open up public comment for item number 1.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do have a slip for this particular item, so we will call up Mr. Rick Clausen. If you will approach the podium, please turn on your mic. You will have 2 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon. At the last discussion of this project, I submitted a photo inventory of buildings nearby to it in support of the city's urban design guideline. And I'm happy to see that the applicant has applied some of those guidelines to the modifications to this presentation. Included in my photo list were two buildings that the applicant at the time chose to emphasize as justification for the project's unadorned, boxy, contemporary style. 1615 Castillo Street, still on the list, and 335 West Valerio Street, which they've dropped off the list now. The former was constructed in 1930 and the latter in 1925, and both may have been originally upstanding contributors to the eclectic neighborhood style of their times. Unfortunately, this is no longer true. A review of the city's street files for those two buildings highlights their troubled permit histories of multiple illegal modifications over almost a century, and the records even show enforcement measures required to compel compliance. The owner of 1615 in 1939 refused to correct unpermitted alterations, and the city sued in police court on August 9th and won. At the other building, which 335 West Valerio, non-compliant construction of a garage building was cited by the building department, and the owner appealed to the city council. She lost. My point, before I get to my point, I want you to notice that the photos that the applicant produces today on nearby 10 structures, take a look at the roof lines. There's just the 1615, which is flat. But my point is that both of these other examples, these income properties held up by the project's architect as exemplars of design for the neighborhood, are tattered specimens with little remaining historic or original design integrity. Certainly not good enough on which to base a modern interpretation, and using them at all is a desperate attempt to normalize the abnormal design of this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I do not have any further slips for this particular item. However, if you wish to make a comment, you can fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so we will turn our attention to virtual comment. And I do not have any hands raised for virtual comment on this project. And we did receive a written comment from a Miss Bonnie Donovan, which was distributed to the board. And at that, I will turn this back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Okay, we will close public comment for item 1 and move into questions from the board. Board Member 6, would you like to begin?
No questions.
Vice Chair Whalen?
Just a couple of small questions. That through-the-wall scupper with a precast grain tile that you drew from the von Romberg residence, that doesn't have a downspout, so it just splays out on the wall. Is that the idea?
It's the overflow, so the primary water is being taken into an internal downspout.
So there's an in-wall downspout?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the extra one. If all else fails, then it will
Thank you for that clarification.
spill out.
I think that's my only question. Thank you.
Board Member Noon?
No questions.
Board Member Anderson?
Yeah, I just have a few. And can you flip to the section? I think it was A 1.2. Please, thanks.
It's not me, I promise. Now it's me.
Yeah, so if you zoom in on the section there, so with these new operable transom awning windows, how do you open those?
They would be mechanized.
Oh, okay. So there's some sort of button you're gonna hit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also, depending on the manufacturer, there is a pole that will come with it, just like in old classrooms. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering whether that was what's gonna happen here. Okay.
The other possibility is that those would be fixed and
Yeah.
that that might be incorrectly designated, and that the windows below would be the operable ones, and that the transoms
Yeah, no,
may be fixed.
yeah. And so what are the head heights on the typical, is it, because I can see the 10-0.
Yeah, those are 9 foot to the head of the transom, and
Okay.
7 foot to the head of the larger window below.
7 foot and 9 foot, okay.
And then on the floor, that's on the upper floor, and then on the lower floor, we have, I believe it's a 9-foot ceiling, so those are 8-foot doors and windows.
Okay. And can you go back, pan up to that elevation we were just looking at, up to the left a little bit? That one right there. So what's going on with that entry and the grade?
With the entry and the grade,
Yeah.
that area will need to be slightly graded to accommodate the access point
I can
there.
add to that. What you're seeing is, it's kind of hard when you're on a multi 3D, the grades are different. So where you take this, it's basically, you have a section of the ground that's in the foreground.
So the
But
site's
you're
sloping
showing,
towards.
you have, the ground is sloping towards the building. So you're seeing, we couldn't just show the foreground covering up the door. So we open that up so you can see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a graphic thing.
Okay, and then,
There won't be a retaining wall there, if that's what you're
Yeah,
asking,
that was
along
what
the
I was-
walkway. Yeah.
okay, that's what I was kind of
That's-
wondering, yeah.
It'll
That would be
be
kind of
graded.
weird. So then what about, so the plaster now it comes all the way down, so then is there going to be some sort of stepped weep screwed along the slope, or how does that work? Does it, where the building meets the ground?
There's a couple different ways to do it, but what we've done recently is you do there's a weep screed that is made where it weeps and then it continues on the bottom, so you can have a weep. There's basically a line there, then that way you can do the nice plaster all the way to the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And it's still weeping the stucco, but you get to have your finish all the way down, rather than have kind of the waiting for a flood look.
Yeah, yeah. And then on that, number 4, so with the plantings, how is that accessed or maintained on the roof? Elevation number 4.
Yeah, I see what you're asking. I think there's a door out to there. If there isn't, there will be. Yeah. It's at the end on Unit J.
Yeah, it's also here
Yeah.
as well. And I'm not sure if that was if that was even meant to be on the building, but more so just as a graphic to show that there is vegetation around.
Yeah, because in the plan, I think I was curious what, I think it's the next plan, the second floor plan. I think you have to go down in the sheets. There it is.
There. Yeah. I think those plants just wouldn't be happening there at all, and it would just be a little roof feature. But we used to have a door there, and I'm realizing that we didn't update that properly.
Okay, I think that's pretty much my questions for now. Yeah.
Okay. I just had one follow-up question with the transformer location. Have you confirmed the clearances required and where your landscape is in relationship to that?
That's a question for me, right?
Well, I think so. The or the architect, the transformer is located in that, down the slope, right? In that middle, between those two big trees. And I just want to
Oh,
confirm.
right.
Confirm you have the correct clearances on your plan.
Oh.
Because all that landscaping is a nice idea, and just,
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
noticed on other projects that there are specific clearances required.
We'll take note and make sure that we have the right clearances as we move forward.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Follow-up questions?
Yeah, I don't know if, what, are you proposing a white body color?
Yes.
And I can't tell from your elevations what window color you're proposing is. Does it have a color? Does it have a color?
The window frame, it would be a light gray, and that would tie it to the existing building on site that has gray colored window frames currently.
Thank you.
The actual plasters, it's called Santa Barbara Finish by Merlex, and it's the white.
Any other questions? Okay, let's go into comments. They're here for project design approval, and if you have anything specific on the alternate open yard request.
Chair Anderson?
Yes.
If I may just provide some thoughts as you get into comments here. Just to let you know, per the Permit Streamlining Act, this project has been deemed complete. It was deemed complete on July 22nd of this year, and therefore an action is required by September 29th. So if you do continue it at this meeting, it needs to be continued to a date certain. So just keep that in mind, and I'll be here if there are any other questions.
Thank you. Board Member 6, do you have any comments?
Well, it's come a long way, and I think it's almost neutral enough to be palatable. But I don't see the resistance in providing at least some essence of the Hispanic or less modern language in the detailing. For instance, I think that there could be a simple parapet of a reverse quarter round, just only that big, that would make a difference. And I think that the railings, could have a little bit of hammeredness or some other detailing to it. And the lighting fixtures, I think you have a very contemporary light fixture. I think it's almost there, but the finishing, the detailing is, I don't care what those are. Those are very contemporary examples, sir. So we're trying to get to a point where it's palatable to the neighborhood, and I think that's, I think it's close, but I think that parapets, railing, lighting. Also think that if it was not a white and white and gray, it would be a off-white with your Santa Barbara blue or green. It would make a radical difference and still have a crisp look to it, but would, as we have said over and over again, make bow to a more traditional, more neighborhood-friendly design. But I don't know whether we can handle, well, that's my comments.
Vice Chair Whalen?
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to build on Member 6's comments here, but first I'd like you to go to your compatibility photos, if you might, for the benefit of the public discourse here. I think that in general, these photos show there isn't much, if anything, to source that contribute to a Santa Barbara quality and sense of place, except for perhaps the mass, bulk, height, and scale. If you zoom in on number 8, which is your on-site Monterey, which is a perfectly fine style that reflects qualities of Santa Barbara, isn't really sourced or used in the design at all. But thank you for including it in this package where we got a closer look at it. And then if you go to number 5, your image number 5, well, as long as you have this one up on number 7, here's the adjacent property that has those Santa Barbara qualities, albeit through the trees, of a red tile roof and plaster, and what you might expect. I also found that image number 8, the Monterey, is visible from 101, as if you're not paying attention to your driving, you can see it as you drive by. So I would portend that this is a major entry site. But back to that image number 5, it has a second story, but even the second story is stepped back so that the volume is modulated, something that I don't see in your design. So the context images seem to justify the design presented rather than reflect the neighborhood. And if I might quote, as Member Sofrin did at the last meeting from our urban design guidelines, areas without distinctive architecture and structures and additions shall be designed to lead the area towards design which are harmonious with Santa Barbara's distinctive built environment. And then section number 2 of that guideline, consideration should be given to traditional architectural styles based upon the city's Hispanic tradition. These are preferred at locations that are highly visible to the public, such as a gateway or entry points into the city. And this is a prominent location, as I just mentioned, well seen from well, not well seen, but it is visible from 101, and it is a freeway entry point. I do think that you've, as Member 6 says, you've come a long way. And this is a good starting point. I wish we had been here before because, as Member 6 pointed out, I do think that you're with some minor elements that the design could be acceptable for project design approval. I appreciate the stepping down of the massing. It articulates well within the neighborhood, especially the below street level. And as I said earlier, I appreciate the inclusion of the Monterey style. However, in your design package, we get no sense of what the ADUs, which are beyond our comment, I realize, but they are a part of the design proposal, and I would like to see them included in some of the sections. They're sort of flirted with it in one of your videos, but it is a part. You essentially have 3 styles in your proposal, and I think they should be clearly articulated towards our understanding what the proposal is. So in an effort to be more specific, as Member 6 is always enjoining me to do, I would return to the comment about the window frames. I agree with that. I particularly like that Santa Barbara blue. You might consider recessing those windows. And I was confused on some of the renderings. Some of them look like they have a rather deep recess because of the shadow.
It's an angle of the shadow.
But others don't appear to have any recess at all.
The sun doesn't angle.
Right, on the north elevations, all right, I understand that, but thank you for that, because a
they're
deep
inside.
window recess, I think, is a quality that we can all agree upon. The ironwork could be a bit more ornamental. You did away with the trellises, which, you might rethink returning them in a heavy timber or with perhaps a tile on them. And then front entries are frequently enhanced with tile or something around the opening. Those are the elements of a Santa Barbara style that I would encourage you to consider. Thank you.
Board Member Noon?
Can you go to the elevation sheets? I don't know that I'm going to deviate much from what's been said. I agree it's improving, and I think I mentioned last time, the size, mass, bulk, and scale is appropriate. I'm just trying to find things to to give you here that, could be
That would be
helpful.
much appreciated.
For instance, I think the windows seem really heavy to me. If you could, the mullions are thick and heavy, and, maybe that would be in it, maybe just finding some other lighter Santa Barbara, just the horizontal mullions that are lighter, that, that, just an idea. I don't know how the other board members feel about that, but that's one thing that jumped out at me, that they just seem really, they seem really heavy. I'm trying to soften the look up a little bit. Maybe another one would be just a little bit more articulation in the plane. There's some long planes that are, just flat. This one down on detail 2 on the right, the shadow lines, those are really nice. Where in contrast, if you look at 1, there's both structures. I think there's only one shadow line within those 2 structures. That might be something that could soften this up a little bit. I like Board Member Whalen's comment about, maybe adding some detail around the openings, some surrounds around the opening. I think that would be a nice touch, but
May we respond?
Not yet, but thank you.
Thank you.
so those are some things that, to try to give you that maybe would help soften it a little bit. But I agree with the other board members. It's moved in the right direction.
Board Member Anderson?
Yeah, I think just looking at these elevations, it's good. I really like the simplicity of it and the way the project has progressed, and I do think that it has a refinement to it now that is a result of the iterations, and the revised fenestration, I think, is nice. It's pleasing to look at. There's a quality of it being kind of a mast-based architecture, I think, as these kind of simple white boxes cascade down the hill, and you can register the way the site drops in the changing heights of the building. And I think that the white plaster does a good job of rendering both the landscape and the metal railings. And in terms of the comments or the questions I had, about the plantings, I think that's good that the plants are on the roof in that one south elevation, and they're kind of cascading off the parapet, because I think it does lend the building a kind of quality of being of the site, and it softens up the boxiness a little bit. I feel that something that I'm a little kind of maybe critical of is like the signage, I think, is a little bit kind of takes away from the purity of the masses. Like the bike room sign, it's a little bit kind of kitsch, in my opinion, like it's ironizing a bike room, right? But, and then like the heights of the windows and doors, I do wonder if 8 feet is potentially a little high for human proportion, and whether the building overall will feel a little tall, but overall I think it looks good. And the courtyard itself, I think the kind of muted quality of the architecture being just this kind of pure white wall, it really allows the courtyard and the landscape to speak, which, it kind of lets the landscape do more of the storytelling about Santa Barbara. So, yeah, that's pretty much my comments.
Okay. I would just follow up with, I do think this is a cohesive and quiet project, and I would consider a different light fixture, just one more shielded, less glass, visible glass. And I could actually support project design approval today, because I think some of our focus should be from what's visible from the street, and we're not going to see the whole elevation of the five units from the street. And I do feel like you guys have taken a lot of the feedback and responded, and it is a good backdrop for the landscape. So would someone else like to make the motion for this project?
At what point are we able to say something?
How does that usually work?
Chair Anderson, excuse me, it's up to you whether you want to allow any clarifying questions
Okay.
or comments at this point.
Sure,
but you
yeah,
may.
we can give you a few minutes for that.
Okay. So thank you all for your comments. We hear you. I've been writing a lot of notes as you've been talking, and thinking about whether the things that you've mentioned could be addressed when we bring it back for final. Things like color changes and detailing of railings and such things.
I think if you are, I guess the question would be, are you willing to add a detail that's a more hammered iron look to the railing? Are you willing to do a different parapet detail? Like, what are some of the things that you would be willing to
We'd
provide?
be willing to change the colors along the lines of what's been mentioned
Okay.
in the comments.
Because then we can be very specific in our motion.
Sure.
So how about you guys make a motion, and then you can say, this is what we're going to do today, because this project's been here like 5 times. So you're going to make a motion, and then you're going to say if you're willing to do those things, I guess, and then we're going to be very specific, please.
Let me do it.
Sure.
So I would make a motion for project design approval with the following requirements when it comes back for final, and it needs to come back to full board for final. Number one, to provide some kind of traditional treatment to the moldings, at least at the very rooftop, if not also at the balconies, to provide a more traditional light fixture with less glass and downcast light, to provide details to the railing that hint of the more decorative railings of the traditional nature, to eliminate, and I don't know how many times this happens, it struck me to eliminate the bike room. If there's anything else other than that, I think it should be eliminated.
Talking about the signage.
Signage, yes. And to come back with a body color within the traditional, I don't know if the traditional colors, something less than a stark white.
What was that? Brilliant white?
There's a pre-approved list, correct?
Pre-approved?
So they can select one from the pre-approved list from the city.
So we can-
My concern is, does the pre-approve include a white?
No.
No, it
So
doesn't.
this is a historic guide for colors in the EPV district.
Okay.
And so any of those colors that you might see in a historic district are off-whites.
Okay,
So-
so, yes, to
So the body, we could amend that statement to be like body color to be consistent with the city's color guide.
And also the window frames, is that also included in the
So we-
historic color guide?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Window trim details as well.
And you know, as a positive comment, I think that you know, the handling of the masses down the hill, the articulations are pleasant and respond well to the site. And I forgot to ask this question, but I will, and to make sure that the parkway planting grass is, will be an accessible material to use.
Yeah, we'll take care of that at final.
Okay, so let's drop that last one.
Yeah.
Have I not included anything? All right.
You want to do the project compatibility findings?
Yes, we find this project compatible. It is consistent with the guidelines applicable to the location of the project within the city. It's compatible with the character of the city and the neighborhood. It is of appropriate mass, bulk, and scale and height. There are no adjacent landmarks or historic resources affected. There are no public views of the ocean and mountains affected. And there is indeed good use of open space and landscaping.
And do we need to include anything about the alternate open yard?
No, so that's just part of today's like findings. That'd be no. We don't have any like findings that need to be made for that additional.
Does it need to be in the motion that we like do something? for
Yeah.
that? Okay. Board Member 6, can you add that to your motion?
Yes.
I'm not sure 100% what we need to
Chair-
say.
Chair
but-
Anderson, and through you to Board Member 6, appropriate language for that would be that the board finds that the, what is it?
Alternate open yard.
The board finds that the alternate open yard
Is acceptable.
solution is acceptable.
Yes.
Do we have someone to second that?
Well, I want to add, because, you know, my comments were about how this building functions as a backdrop for the landscape in the courtyard. And I was talking about how, you know, the purity and the simplicity of this scheme is related to how the white plaster renders these masses, how they sit in the site. So for me, I wouldn't change the color, and I'm not sure why that wasn't included in the motion.
Well, I think it was important to make the building feel less contemporary, and I therefore strongly believe that the color issue should be, the color comment should be in the motion.
Okay, so that is my contribution. And the other comment I have on that is I didn't have any comment on whether the window jambs or the molding on the windows and the openings needs to be changed. So I think that's a mistake.
Well, so you can vote yes or no on the motion.
I know, I just want to
Okay.
offer this for conversation before I do that.
And pardon my interruption, Chair Anderson, board members. There is a motion on the table, so if there is a second, then you can,
Discuss
from
that.
there, go on to discussion and bring up things that you may want to add or subtract from the motion.
Okay, who would like to second the motion?
I'll second it, but I would agree with Board Member Anderson. I wouldn't want the color to be on the, as a condition. So maybe we could do a straw vote for that.
I think a straw vote could work for the color.
Okay. Would that be for just the plaster color and the window frames, or just?
Just plaster color.
Okay. Those in favor of the plaster color of the building following the city's color guide, raise your hand. Okay, those opposed? Okay, so that shall come off the motion.
So we can strike the body color and windows, or is it just
Just
the body color? So then we can use the
No, I would go one by one. So the body color is turned down.
Okay.
I would keep my window color in place.
Okay.
Following the traditional colors.
Is the seconder okay
Yes.
with that? Okay. Okay, further discussion. Board Member Anderson, do you want to discuss the parapet and balcony moldings as mentioned in the motion?
Well, yeah, I don't think that there needs to be any molding on the parapet. And I don't know what the parapet or the balcony molding is, what that refers to really, but maybe if you want to clarify what you mean by that.
Well, the balcony wall is another horizontal termination of a vertical wall. I gave them a choice to do that or not, but it's an opportunity to, have the similar molding at those.
I don't know if there is a choice. I think the motion was that they need to provide a traditional detail, correct?
Additional detail.
A
So let me
traditional.
clarify the motion officially that a traditional treatment of the roof parapets is required, and an option to treat the horizontal balcony rails as same.
Does that clarify what you're?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand that, but I don't believe that anything else needs to be done to this project, so
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, let's take a vote with the motion on the floor.
Chair Anderson,
No.
Vice Chair Whalen,
No.
What?
Board Member Anderson,
No?
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion fails.
Yeah, Vice Chair Whalen, would you like to make a motion?
No, not really, because I cannot make the compatibility findings, especially for number one, following good design guidelines.
Even though we just
and number
gave
two.
specific requirements? Those would be based on the specific.
My no is different.
Okay.
And compatibility finding number two, the neighborhood mass, bulk, and scale.
Okay.
So,
Don't look to me.
Okay.
but Board Member Whelan, can you clarify what you mean for bulk, mass, and scale? So is it too tall, or what is it? Is it the,
It's neighborhood compatibility, so there's only one other building within the adjacent 10 parcels that they looked at that was two-story. Even the one existing building is pushed into the landscape, the Monterey style. I just don't find the mass, bulk, and scale compatible with either the on-site or existing buildings.
because the adjacent ones are largely single-story?
Yeah, exclusively, except for one other one.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would suggest that one of the Andersons make
Yeah,
a
I
new motion.
understand. Okay, I'll make a motion for project design approval with the following comments. That the light fixture be more shielded and more traditional. Okay. That the roof parapet be more defined with a simple traditional detail. That the signage for the bike room be eliminated. That the railings I'd say be hammered ironwork. And the project compatibility findings. It's consistent with the design guidelines, it's compatible with the architectural character of the city and neighborhood, it's appropriate in size, mass, bulk, height, and scale. There are no adjacent landmarks or historic resources, it does not affect public views of the oceans and mountains, and it has appropriate use of open space and landscaping. And we accept, or that we find that the alternate open yard is acceptable. Do I have a seconder?
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
No.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six.
No.
Okay. Let's hear from the noes.
Yes, again, I can't make, thank you, I can't make compatibility guidelines. I don't find it's consistent with the design guidelines and neighborhood compatibility.
I don't think there is enough toning down or acknowledgement of the traditional language that is prevalent and identifies the city as a whole is there.
Okay, thank you. There is a 10-day appeal period, and the process is on the screen. So, thank you.
And a question for Mr. Hamilton Roll. If I understood you correctly, so it's now got PDA, it'll come back for final before the end of the month, didn't you say?
Excuse me. Pardon me. Board Member Whalen, through the chair to you. You could continue it indefinitely for final approval. There's no requirement that it come back before the end of the month. The date that we were concerned with was the project design approval date. And since it was granted PDA today,
Thank you for
we
that
meet PSA
clarification.
timelines, yeah.
So they made that.
correct, yeah.
Okay.
To that end, Board Member Anderson, I think your motion was to
Project design approval.
project design approval. Did it mention continuing indefinitely
It did.
to
I don't know if I
consent
said
or
it.
full board?
So
Okay.
then continue indefinitely to the full board.
And does the seconder agree with that?
What's the other option or options here?
To
Be referred
Consent.
to consent.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Full board.
Okay, full board.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we will take a 1.5-minute recess. a continued item for concept review, 1922 De La Vina Street. Proposal for a new 1, 3, and 4-story mixed-use development with 39 residential units, a remodel reconfiguration of the existing commercial buildings, a 1,300 square foot storage room, and 29 vehicle parking spaces, 44 bicycle parking spaces, and 1 commercial loading space. Project is under the city's average unit size density incentive program and state density bonus law. Project requires state density bonus application approval by the Community Development Director and design review by ABR. A lot line adjustment application being processed separately will result in a total lot area of 0.69 acres. No final appealable decision will be made at this hearing. Project will require compliance with the project compatibility findings and urban design guidelines. Was last reviewed on December 9th, 2024 for concept. Anything from staff? Nope. Okay. Welcome back. Please introduce yourselves. You'll have 15 minutes.
Hi, I'm Bobby Walker from BW Design.
Hi, I'm Rachel Hollander from RRM Design Group.
As mentioned, the last time the board's seen this project was last December. So the first couple of things I want to do is first I want to go through what some of the comments were from the board and how we've addressed those into our current design from the last meeting. And the second thing is just to explain why and what transformation has happened to the project. A couple items to note regarding the massing from the board last time. There was an asymmetrical nature to the project that's been addressed a little bit. There was some detailing issues or lack thereof with openings especially and with roof profiles, especially on the 4th floor. There was also discussion about the scale of the project, and I don't necessarily mean the units, but the expanse at which the project stretched out because the courtyard was so large. So that's one thing you'll definitely see a large change for. And then there was some commentary on simplifying the project, and that especially it had to do a little bit with opening details, a little bit with windows and the number of windows, and it especially had to do with the commercial along the ground floor. Another item that was a little easier to sum up was the balconies. So the idea of creating more opaque balconies on the outside and then opening up the balconies on the inside of the project, which I completely agree with from that front. And then just this idea of continuing to refine the architectural details to reflect the historic nature of the Santa Barbara. So one important thing to note is we're back here for concept. We're very close to receiving approval from the city to be able to go to PDA. It was important from the stakeholders that instead of taking the project all the way through at the city for a project of this scale and just kind of plopping it down in front of you with city approval through transportation, everything, that we take this opportunity a month and a half or so before you see it again to gain some of your feedback on the architectural style and opportunities really that we have to continue to articulate the style, make this project fit on De La Vina Street, where we have a mix between this contemporary, not the word I was looking for, a mix between the more traditional Santa Barbara architecture, but it also is a street that has a lot of young energy and new shops and breweries. So the mix of those two things, and then additionally with this project, we're looking at a relationship between a very residential part of the project and a very street-facing commercial. So again, just continued input and support from the board on the design as we move forward. A lot of the design changes you'll see have to do with value engineering in a way, so reducing the podium, and it's funny how projects work out like this. A lot of times the design comments you have also make the projects more economical and make more sense with the true style of the project. So I think overall, reducing the style of the project, size of the project, and the courtyard made a big difference. I'll discuss that a little more, and then we addressed the asymmetrical style. And then we also got clarification on the commercial of what's new and what's existing. So which tenants are staying, which portion is going to be a tenant improvement. So that's made a big impact on the project. A lot of this you've already seen as context. We're on De La Vina Street here. We're off of the hard corner. And we're a little bit of an infill project, mostly new construction. So we do have commercial fronting the street now, and we're planning on making that commercial presence a little bit larger at the street and then going 4 stories behind. We added some boards to kind of match the direction our style is going. A few of these pictures are from Santa Barbara. I know everybody recognizes some of these buildings. So a lot of what we're doing in our elevations, we're comparing to some of these project buildings. So I just want to make sure we're all using the same language and kind of a point of reference when we're critiquing the elevations. This picture on the upper right here is obviously a much smaller scale. No, but it's there to just, sometimes with these larger projects, and we'll continue to refine this into PDA, but we're looking at such a large we're looking at a 4-story massing here, and we're continuing to also think about each of the individual deck spaces as we do this and how we can soften the project at a human scale for each unit and at the commercial spaces. So this was a lot kind of for us in the office too, design-wise, just taking it down in scale to be able to talk about this and what details are working. Here's example of what we had previously and what we have now. So previously on the site level, ground floor, it's very similar footprint-wise. We moved around the storage. We moved the bike room back on the project. We moved the storage front. Part of that was honing in on what size commercial space we need for this tenant improvement. This tobacco shop here that's currently existing is staying. They have a lease and they're staying through that. So in order to respect that property, we added, which this project had a couple of years ago, actually a little small paseo back in next to that. So we're not building right next to the tobacco shop. And then everything to the right of that paseo, project south a little bit, if we will, is going to be demo and rebuild, all new construction. So we have flexibility there to cater that design. This is where you see the biggest difference in massing. Sorry, it's a little harder to see on the screen here, I'm realizing, than it looked on the boards in our office, so I'll zoom in. But this here, these lines are the outline of the 2nd and 3rd floor, and then the outline of the 4th floor that we had from our previous project. So part of that was reducing the size of the units, and you'll see they all stack now, so simplifying the floor plan, but also part of it was reducing the courtyard to 16 feet wide. So La Arcata, when you walk in, that's closer to maybe about 20 feet, or one of the secondary walkways off Paseo Nuevo are about 16 feet if you go walk those. So it's a little bit more like that than what it was before, is around 32 feet, which was too large for the project. So a large massing reduction, and Board Member Whalen and Board Member 6, I think, spoke about how much massing was towards Mission Street on this project. So this is an attempt to reduce that massing and push the project over. And then, of course, with reducing the 4th floor, the roof plan reduces. So that's what we're looking at here. You can see much more elongated project previously with, I would say, unused space in the courtyard, less thought out space. The site plan for the project, a couple things to note here primarily. One was the existing versus new, which I already went through. The second is a shared driveway. The last time we came in with the project, it was 30 feet wide because we had the neighbors portion of the shared driveway. Plus, because there's no formal easement, we had a whole nother 22-foot apron that was required by the city. So the client is currently in talks with the neighbor, and the current plan to move forward is that this portion of the neighbor's commercial property, you can see the property line right here. So there's 9 feet on this side. So taking 7 feet of their 9 feet or 7.5 feet and doing a sidewalk, a planting area, and a curb so that you can walk back onto their property, and then just doing a 22.5-foot driveway there. I'll skip forward through the parking area a little bit. That's very similar to the last time you guys saw this. So the project was more sprawling before, I guess. The best way to look at this is it's the back 4-story element is completely stacked, second, third, and fourth floor, same units all the way up. 16-foot courtyard right now, and then 2 stories in the front where the commercial's at, and we're trying to play with pulling that back so it feels a little bit more like 1.5 to 2 stories, and then it softens the 4 stories as you go back. We've worked with landscape to create these walkways that you'll see in building section have railings so that the planting actually comes up from the second story, and we have trees in there that kind of create a little nature or more landscaped area in there. Yeah, the project is studios, 1s, 2s, and 3s right now. And oh, another portion of some of the redesign is that the client's been working with the city on and Rachel has as well, with the affordability aspect. So some of that's in there, just kind of further development of the project. As far as the massing goes and the fenestration, some of the big components we looked at were these more, let me go to my notes. So some detailing items we didn't have before. Making sure I identify between extended eaves and scallop gables and where we have barrel tile roofing. So that wasn't really in the project before, and it wasn't clearly identified. We also went more traditional with our openings. So we previously say we had a door and a window next to it. Board member 6 had some good comments about combining the openings so that we get more massing on the outside. So creating these more traditional vertical massing elements and then introducing colonnades horizontally to be able to break up that articulation without disrupting the vertical rectangular massing elements that we're trying to really reinforce. On the exterior, we pushed to create these openings in the planes that both help reinforce that massing, I would say, and we're still continuing to try to bring more of this massing down to the ground floor, so it's not just stopping at the podium. And then part of that is punching these openings out of the wall planes, and then another reason for that is to create screening on those decks so that you're not seeing somebody's bike or furniture or something out there. So we left the more transparent openings to the inside of the project. This is kind of a little bit of a deceiving elevation. That's why we show it twice. So this is from Mission Street. So there's really a building in front of it on the hard corner here. So you look through a parking lot, and there's a few trees here. So you only see a portion, this portion here, and the grade comes up. So it's about 3 to 3.5 stories back here after the grade rises up the hill. So you can imagine driving up from the freeway up towards State Street. And then here on the bottom, we're just showing the elevation as if you're cutting it through the site. So you'll never really see this bottom elevation as it's shown. It's really more like this top view number 1. And then here is the rear of the project. This faces, there's 3 adjacent parcels to the northeast. Those are owned by a commercial plumbing shop. So those face the commercial shop as it goes up the hill. And then we have a few building sections down the courtyard. So I think we still have some work to do on articulating this courtyard, but we really wanted to show how you circulate through the project, the space that's left for landscape to work with, and the fact that we are working on opening up those long spans. So there's not going to be plastered walls along the railings. It's going to be iron railings throughout here. Each of the units has their own private outdoor deck space. So again, really important on the project on 2 sides. It's, a constraint of this project is on mission. On the mission side, there's a parking lot that we're looking at. Let's see. These units down here are kind of looking out over a parking lot. And here they're looking on a commercial property, and then to the southwest, again, we're also looking on another drive aisle and parking lot. So playing with the transparency and having outdoor space, but also recognizing that in a way it's surrounded on several sides by parking lot. You don't see the hills till you get up higher to the 3rd and 4th floor. We have 9-foot plates right now. We're trying to keep the covered podium parking as low as possible. We showed it about like maybe 9, 10 right now. Anticipate that might need to go up a little bit from what we're showing. So we're still playing with the roofs. We're shooting for a 45-foot max height limit, except for maybe where we need it for the elevator tower to encroach a little bit. Katie wasn't able to be here today to pitch and her landscape design, but she's been doing a great job moving with the flow of the project as it's kind of reducing and as we added this paseo. So, you know, it's important to remember, I think, for this street, Katie and I talked a lot about, she has a lot of good opinions about the fact that this is a really public street. And then also if we want to maybe put a restaurant or a coffee shop in here, how do we connect it to the street and also keep it more private, because it does become a residential project. So, you know, it's a very wide, anybody who's driven down that street knows there's a lot of concrete down there right now. And I think it's 20 feet, right? So it goes back 10 feet, then there's another 10 feet that the project setback from the setback. So we're trying to soften that area and make it more inviting. So there's planting, but down here in the front, instead of doing a wall, she's introduced rails where the sidewalk and the entry to the commercial space are kind of on more of a similar grade. And then instead of creating walls, using key elements that are necessary for the project, like the bike parking or benches to in a soft way create separation between the different commercial uses. And I wish she was here. She's obviously much better at talking about the landscaping. So this is her first, she wanted me to say this is her first concept stab at laying out the paseo to get a little more feedback. Again, this is an existing kind of one-story building here, the tobacco shop. So she's looking at adding color or a mural of some sort on the inside of that paseo to be able to add a little bit of style to what is now kind of an existing small building with sporadic openings, I guess would be the best way to describe it on this right side.
Hey, Bobby, before you switch, can you go to back to that one? Just wanted to note the transformer in the drive aisle. We worked with our dry utility consultant to meet the buffers around the transformer and have tried to screen it appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you. And then this, with the exception to our courtyard, the rest of this is pretty similar to the last time you saw it, kind of creating a different material palette for each floor, but making them each, so I guess a little bit of uniqueness, but similar in quality for each floor. And then the paseo, the courtyard area here in the middle, figuring out a way to bring that planting up through the project so it stretches to each floor. And then we also added on the 3rd floor a group kind of amenity space for all of the everybody in the building to be able to use on the 3rd floor. And we have it up front, so it kind of a little bit of more of street activation, and you'll be able to see that area. Oops. You'll be able to see that area from the Mission and De La Vina intersection. This is just continued development of Katie's design. I'm sure you guys have all looked at this. So with that, that's our presentation for today, and I look forward to hearing your feedback and comments. Again, this is the same scope and scale that you saw last time. It's still 39 units. We believe we've reduced in size, scale, and really started to articulate the design aesthetic. And we would love to hear your comments to kind of further that design and bring the project to a point where we can get it into project design approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's open up public comment for item 2.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. At this time, I do not have any slips for this project. However, if you wish to make a comment, you may bring the slip to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so we will turn our attention to virtual attendance. And at this time, I do not have any hands raised for virtual comment, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this project. So at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Thanks. We will close public comment and go to questions from the board. Vice Chair Whalen, would you like to begin?
Sure, I just have one small question for Mr. Walker. On your sheet A10, that's image number 19, that northwest elevation, you talked about how you've moved that back at the second and third floors. Why don't I see any of that in the elevation? Seems like there should be a horizontal line where there's a stepping back, or what am I missing?
I think from the front,
No.
from so from the street here, this would be the main De La Vina street elevation.
Yes.
We have a 2-story elevation up front, and then the project goes, I guess what I was mentioning is that we have a 2-story height building in the front that continues back for about.
If you go to your
You-
before and after of the
You
roof plan.
showed us a plan, a before and after of how the third and fourth floors had moved back.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I think I know what you're.
Those were the existing lines, I think, is what. Go to your existing and proposed roof plan.
This guy here.
And-
So, is this what we're?
So if you zoom into your, yeah.
Does it
there you go.
step down on that northwest side, or am I?
No,
doesn't.
no, it
You
does
just
not.
move the whole thing
Yes,
back.
that's correct.
Thank you for that clarification. That's my only
Sorry
question.
for the confusion.
Board Member 6.
And Mr. Walker, would you walk through the additional setbacks from De La Vina? Are there additional ones? And some of the third floor is radically gone. Would you just walk through that for me?
Yeah, can you clarify, do you mean additional setbacks from what you saw from the previous?
Yes.
Okay. So, let's see. The previous submittal had a asymmetrical design that was shaped a little bit.
Can you just do your hand back and forth from
Yeah,
one to the
so
other?
this previous submittal, this portion of the project, this wing of the project stuck out further towards De La Vina than the east wing. And it's not as visible on the fourth floor, but on the second and third floor, I'm sorry, I don't have a comparison of the second and third floor here. You can see though from the roof line here sticks out further than the roof back here. So,
Compared with the new.
so with the new one, we split the difference between the two a little bit. So now we're here, but we're at the same facade on both wings of the project.
But the elevator tower sticks out a little bit
Yeah,
more.
the elevator sticks out further, and that came with continued refinement of the parking area and trying to add more parking. And I think that's really, and this is maybe something we should have had in here further, but the concept of having the elevator core and the stairs closer to the street
Yeah.
obviously creates less circulation to the street through the project. So it was that continued development and trying to squeeze out, even 2, 3, 4 more parking spaces on a
So it-
project like this makes a
So
big
it did
difference.
come out a little closer to the street with the elevator tower, but
From
it's
a-
so
yeah.
significantly less breadth
Yes.
than before. Okay,
Mhm.
got it. Thank you.
Okay. Board Member Newt.
No questions.
Board Member Anderson.
So,
Yeah.
excuse me, Chair Anderson to Board Member Anderson. Last time you had recused yourself. I forgot to
Well, I
bring
didn't-
this up. So
Yeah, I
has
was.
that changed since the last time? I think the last time you recused yourself, you were living in close
Well,
proximity.
yeah, I didn't recuse myself, but Carly told me that I'm not supposed to review it because I live near here. I
So
didn't.
is that still the case?
I still live near here. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you need to recuse yourself
Okay.
from today's item, unfortunately.
Right. Okay.
So I think we just state your reason that you're living in close proximity, and then you'll just have to take a step out of the room and then come back.
Okay. I live in close proximity.
And need to recuse. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'll make it work.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Sorry, thank you.
It's all good. Can you go to the images that you provided of the examples, the example sheet? Okay, and then can you go to your, what is the image? It says colonnade arch variation. What's the second image? Where is that? Not that one, the one next to it. Down,
right here.
down below it. Where is that located?
I don't know if that's location, and it's just an inspiration image.
Okay.
A couple of them are located in Santa Barbara, and a couple of
Yeah,
them are
I
just
guess
inspiration images.
my question would be then, for your elevations, was there a reason why you didn't have all your arches in similar or the same
The same as inspiration photos, or similar to
no.
each other?
to each other? You showed two different types of art, specifically on the De La Vina
Yeah.
elevation.
So I do think, us talking about this inspiration photo, I think project design approval, the next time you see this, it would be helpful to have a couple more pages and more Santa Barbara examples. I can see that now. But I think it was more taking just style. There's been a lot of larger, I probably shouldn't use that word. There have been more 3- and 4-story buildings going into Santa Barbara, and going around town and seeing what makes some of them more successful than others. And I think this is kind of also just draws from the traditional Santa Barbara style, is that is having rhythm, but creating differences and kind of moments of fun, I guess, on the elevation. So it's starting to look at that and create variation in the elevation. And by doing it by floor, it keeps a simplicity. And I think using this word colonnade is where I'm getting that by floor idea, because you picture, even though it's not a walkway that goes through, it gives that traditional look of there are openings within a colonnade. So I think it gives us an opportunity to do 2 different openings and it to look natural because they're different floors and they're different horizontal colonnades. And I personally think that the project looks better to have a variation of openings.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up questions? All right, let's go into comments. Vice Chair Whalen.
With the indulgence of the board, a few general comments. All over town, we're seeing, as Mr. Walker mentioned, these 4-story buildings emerging to meet the current demands of housing. And this is bringing a fundamental change to the character of our city that I think everybody is aware of. It'd be interesting to me to see pre-1925, when many of these buildings were destroyed, but we know the Granada building is 8 stories, the Balboa building is 6 stories, the Potter Hotel was 6 to 7 floors, the Arlington was 5 stories, as well as the Californian Hotel, other buildings. So this concept isn't new or unfamiliar. It's a kind of return to this previous approach. However, each of those previous buildings was a single cohesive monumental block, as shown on your illustrations on T5 that you pointed out, Chair Anderson. This is especially apparent in these 3 facades that do not face De La Vina. They are large and overbearing 4 stories adjacent to 1-story neighbors. Sections through this site that show these neighboring buildings on all 3 sides would be appropriate. You really only showed us sort of the one on De La Vina, not what happens on the others. So I appreciate the talent, your talents that you've applied to this, Mr. Walker. I think it's very successful on the De La Vina side, reflecting that character of the neighborhood, and they are very well crafted. I would disagree that you have a courtyard, perhaps at the 2nd floor, but it isn't really a courtyard at the 3rd floor or the 4th floor, because all of the passageways, you said it's 16 feet wide, but it's really only as wide as the passageway. So I think you're kind of treading on thin water there, although that was a good stroke that you took to reduce the building mass at the expense of that so-called courtyard. Those are all of my general comments. Thank you.
Board Member 6.
I think I know what you're saying. And I'll come at it a little differently. So, first of all, it's greatly improved. I mean, the collapse of the upper floors and is just really making the mass spoken skill manageable. However, I have a problem with all the various compositions of each of the elevations. And I think it's this, idea of having one simplified, the previous, and we did a lot of work on that, was getting simplified and continuous to where, at least I was more happy with it. Here, I think we've lost a little bit. So let me go through what I mean. So on the front elevation, well, first of all, in general, these gabled ends, they look really nice on a little hacienda or house, but when you try to repeat them in the four-story building here, it's not honest. So let me go to the front elevation. I think that you have a continuum of storefronts there, and then you interrupt it with your gable. It's not working. It should all be continuous, a strong statement. The windows, the eave should be continuous. There should be a continuous awning or shade device across all of the storefronts. It should be a very horizontal expression rather than interrupting it with this hacienda gable end. You've got two different types of bedroom windows. All that should be very, very similar, and horizontal. So then on the other elevations, it's about the same. As I think that if you have a gable, one gable as an exception at the corner, that would be fine. But to have three of them on each elevation, I think that you should simplify and unify and make these horizontal. And what do we have? 7 different types of window openings. It's the result. I know you've spent a lot of effort in trying to make this interesting, but it's like all of these different windows in a relatively flat wall. If you would, I think, let's see, where is it? I think if at least the little middle gable was eliminated on the top floor, and the balconies were open, and you'd have a linear look to it, even though that mass is coming out to the front. You could disguise that and minimize its difference between each side of it. So I think there's a lot of, I think you should really look at some of those inspiration buildings and see that there's window after window after window, and make it simple, man. And eliminate a lot of the different languages that you're doing here. And if you do these if you do continue with these gables, I think that there's an opportunity to bring way down there. I think there was a considerable difference between the gable eave and the balcony eave, that you could really squash that down and make it look more continuous. I think that back to, I'm skipping around here, but I think on the De La Vina elevation, I think your tower needs help and a little sophistication there. I realize that one guy wraps around, but there's got to be, I think, especially an eaveless, no overhang there and something else happening, on the upper one, a lot more sophistication there is in need. So, it's a grand improvement in its mass spoken scale, but I'm a little disappointed in, the way it's going here. And the thing that I think should happen is much simpler grouping windows, grouping balcony styles, and making if you make a language, it should be not just 2 windows. It should be, 5 apartments wide. You understand what I'm saying? So, I think it's going in the right direction, but I'd like to see it come back to, or have simplicity and don't be embarrassed about the size by trying to disguise it into cute little forms that, are hacienda type. Just do it as a big building.
Board Member Noon?
I don't know that I'm going to be able to add a whole lot to that. I think I would agree with the comments. I'm not as concerned about the side elevations. They're not as visible. I do appreciate the way you've pulled it in to help that, to reduce that. So I'll just focus then on the De La Vina. I agree with Board Member 6's comments to simplify that elevation along De La Vina. There could be some more consistency with it. The ground level is commercial, the upper level is residential, so maybe there's a distinction there. I don't know, what, you're the designer, so I don't want to, push you in one direction or the other, but I do think it could be simplified. And then on the sides, on the side elevations, I was wondering the windows, the pattern of the windows. You've got a large window, small window, large window. I was thinking, is there maybe some more consistency in that? I think typically you would see the larger ones at the base, and then they would reduce in size as you go up. So, maybe you could look at that. I think that's it for me for now.
Great. Yes, I would agree that this has come a long way, that the consolidation of your massing is successful. I would agree with the comments. I think you can even look at some of the sketches on the wall in here and just look at how you can group a certain amount of the massing together and you have the same language on each of the levels, and it's a larger grouping than how you've divided it up. Yeah, you can consider, instead of gables, you can do a hip, you can do shed, you can include that in the roof and extend that line across your balconies. I know the others didn't mention it, but I find that the different arches are a little distracting. So maybe keep the half round and then do a different type of articulation on the other arches. I don't know what those are called. I like the idea of the paseo, so I thought that was a good addition, and those are my comments. Any follow-up?
Just one follow-up. I think that in the interest of simplification, I don't think all these corbels and the scrolls up, from the balcony walls up the sides are helping. I think that you should, as the previous design, get rid of, there could be a very exceptional, unique place where that happens, but, to sprinkle them all around is, I think, not doing you a favor.
Yes, and I wanted to remove any question from Member 6's mind about my comments, which were rambling. I just can't find compatibility for size, bulk, and scale for this neighborhood.
Okay, well, they're here for concept. Would someone like to make a motion for indefinite continuance.
I'll attempt one. So I would have this come back to the full board in indefinite continuance with the following comments. The board appreciates the significant redesign to reduce the mass scene of the upper floors and the significant pullback from the mission side of the project. And number two would be that the applicant should simplify the architecture and attempt to emphasize the horizontal aspects of the longer elevations by similar openings, elimination of at least some of the gabled ends, and simplify and reduce the number of various openings and design elements. I think that says it.
Okay, I'll second. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question for staff. At what point do we discuss story poles?
You would discuss that now, if that's a requirement that you would wish to make today. You can also do visual renderings and.
Actually, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
You did have a vote on that last time.
We did.
You did. You had a straw vote and voted against story poles.
Any further discussion? All right, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Black, Board Member Noon,
Yes.
Board Member Six.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you. Okay, we're gonna take a 2-minute break this time, and apologies that we're running behind. on to item number 3. This is a new item for concept review at 1122 East Haley Street. The existing lot is developed with a 1,000 square foot single unit residence and a 208 square foot detached garage with a 112 square foot storage room. Proposal to construct a 1,143 square foot second residential unit with a 786 square foot 3-car garage below, a detached 500 square foot 1-story accessory dwelling unit. No changes are proposed to the existing residence or the existing garage with storage. Staff hearing officer review and approval of a lot area modification is required. No final appealable decision will be made at this hearing. Project will require compliance with project compatibility findings and urban design guidelines. Anything from staff?
Thank you, Chair Anderson. So this particular project, one is before you because they are proposing a second residential unit on the property. The lot is zoned R2, so it is zoned for 2 units. However, this particular lot at 7,500 square feet doesn't meet the minimum zoning requirements to provide a second unit. So that's why it requires a lot area modification, and that's going to be the discretion of the staff hearing officer. So in terms of your comments today, we're looking for the aesthetic appropriateness of the second residential unit. I also do want to point out that while the zoning lot area doesn't meet the current requirements based on the slope of the lot, which is 18%, it does meet the general plan land use density for 2 units. So additionally, the project includes an accessory dwelling unit. That accessory dwelling unit meets the ministerial criteria. So your comments do not need to have, you don't need to provide any comments on the accessory dwelling unit itself. It's here for reference purposes, so you can see it in relation to the existing residence and the proposed new residence, but all other comments should be focused on the new residence. Thank you.
Chair Anderson, if I may, a question for Planner Pilar. So that ADU doesn't affect the lot area modification?
That's correct. Yes. Through the chair, the accessory dwelling unit is just considered an accessory, so it's not contributing to density. Just the other residence does.
Thanks for confirming that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, well, please introduce yourself, and you'll have 15 minutes to walk us through the plans.
Great, thank you. My name is Sean Lynch with the Vogue Design Studio. So this parcel is at 1122 East Haley Street. As you can tell, here's Milpas, so it's just about 2.5 blocks up from Milpas Street. The second residential unit is approximately 1,150 square feet, and then there will be a 500 square foot ADU. This parcel is backs onto an alley, so the uphill side of it is on Haley, and then the rear lower portion is on an alley 16 feet wide. So that's where we're putting our second residential unit to be able to provide additional parking for the unit as well as an additional spot for the parcel in whole, whether that's for the ADU or the residence itself. The existing residence has a single car garage, which is consistent with all those homes in that area. Here's the structure right here. So a little kind of cottagey stucco asphalt building here. Looking straight on, here's the parcel. So here's Haley. You can see it's all terraced down. So even though it's 18%, it's pretty terraced, and I think these walls are fairly old, so it's been like that. As you can see, it's consistent with all the neighboring areas. Coming down, this is the alley here. Looking back, here's our parcel here. As you can see, there's a retaining wall about 3 feet along this lower portion. So we've actually tucked that second residential unit in. So the visible mass of it is, we try to bury it as much as possible to bring down any potential bulk. And then again, just looking through, it's all terrace, and we will be removing some of these citrus trees as part of this application. This is the existing garage. It has kind of a lower walkout in the basement, which is about 5 feet. It's just a little storage area. I do want to note that there is multiple 2-unit multifamily structures in this neighborhood. So as you can see here, this is a very large second residential unit. I'm not sure how many actual units are in there. And part of our planner letter, we will be addressing doing more of a vicinity map showing where there's additional multifamily units. Just again, here showing, and I have additional views, so you can see here some of those structures all around. So, 2 units here, 2 here. This is multiple units in this structure. So we're just showing consistency and compatibility. This driveway or alley is 16 feet. So one thing that will change from this proposal that you're seeing today, our garage doors will get wider because of the backout requirement. So they're requiring, I think we have 16 feet and 10 feet. So those will need to be maximized just to be able to get our turnout. This is some of the reference. It's really just simplified, a little bit more contemporary, and some of this is a little further on the left than I wanted, but it's really, we're going to do plaster, some CMU down below, and then just kind of really contemporary detailing that is reflective of the main house, but just with, enclosed eaves and stuff like that. So I'll get to that when we get to the details. So again, here's Haley Street, our structure. Here's the garage, and then there's an existing parking space down below. So, and then these fruit trees will be removed. Here's a primary structure, the garage. It's about 1 foot off the property line, so we just are not touching it. Our initial application was going to convert this, have a little addition to it, but we just wanted to, we thought it was too dense. So all these homes are very consistent, 0 property line, almost garages on each side. Go to the next sheet. So here's our second residential unit down here. And the orientation with the 2 gable ends that are facing the alleys, because of our solar access, we initially had the ridge come across, but the height of the ridge at this location would have cast a shadow and encroached into our solar axis. So we actually reorientated it, and it kind of broke up the mass a little bit better, which felt nice. And then this is, and it kind of is reflective of our ADU. We'll have 2 gable ends, even though I know this isn't in your purview, but access-wise, you come down, you come through, there's stairs down, walkway across, stairs down, and then you have stairs down along the side for access for the units down below. And then this is just without the ADU, just to show context. Here's our site massing. So not the ADU and the second residential unit are not on the same plane. They're actually stepped, they're sort of terraced like the parcel. So we try to minimize grading as much as we could by kind of cut and filling where we could. Just to clarify, 8-foot plate and 8-foot, 8-foot plate for the garage and 8.6 for the upper level. So we tried to keep it modest. 2 bedrooms, bathroom, a little powder room, a little kind of office area, and then just really an open kitchen, living, dining. Then we have the open space for this part, or the private space for the second residential unit. And then this steps up, it's terrace, and then we have another patio for the ADU with a fence here and a fence here. So it's probably about 4 or 5 feet, and it's just to create a little bit more, try to really minimize our cut and fill. As mentioned, our garage doors will get bigger, so there'll be less kind of solid between these, and we'll obviously have that in for our next round. And then for the second residential unit, 2-car garage, stairs up, laundry, mechanical down below, and then an additional parking garage space, and then we'll come up the stairs along this side here. Here's the elevation. So again, it's just plaster to match the existing house, simple windows, solid garage doors. We want to keep the exposed CMU, and there'll be a slight overframing for this to create a little bit of a shadow reveal for the transition between the materials. And then just very same fascia detail. The only difference will be that the eaves will be enclosed and not open. And then again, stairs coming up. The stairs will change a little bit. I've already worked on them. They'll essentially stretch out a little bit longer because this is over 10 inches of the existing grade. So we've had to modify this a little bit, but we'll pick that up when we come back to project design approval or further conceptual, depending on where we go. And again, as you see, here's the ADU. And so again, it kind of, the grade of that patio comes up. So it'll be kind of buried in this elevation here, the second residential unit. Let's see, and then here just some sections. We can dig into those as you guys like. Again, we're under their solar axis, and that was really the driving factor in changing the roof to these configurations. just a quick ADU. So here's the existing. So you come down the stairs, you go into the ADU, small kitchen, living, bedroom, and then you come out to their private patio here. And then you'll come down these stairs, go along, come down the side yard, and then you go down to below. The issue with this is that we'll obviously have to have our MEPs work with us because the sewer is up on Haley, but we do have stormwater in the alley. So we'll have to dig into that quite a bit as we move forward. Again, just some additional sections, as you can see. So here's a primary, or the second residential unit patio, or private yard, you can see here. And so what we did, we had to, again, carried this CMU across for this foundation and then have an overhang with this ADU to create the same sort of shadow reveal, and also just to create privacy. So we have higher windows in here for this patio to be private, and then we have the fence up along here. And then here's just some details, some enclosed eaves, kind of the CMU details. So again, we could the windows will be recessed to create some shadow lines. So we'll pull them back as far as we can. And then I saw on these, unfortunately, the ADU didn't show up, so you can't see it all in context, but it was on a different phase than when I printed these. But since I guess it's not in the purview, I did print, if you guys want, with the ADU. I brought two that you guys can look at if you need, and then if City TV wants to look. And then, oops. All right. Oh, City TV went to it.
Can you please zoom in on the drawings on the, yes, thank you.
Yeah, perfect. So you can see just the ADU in the middle there. So I can show here. So that's the ADU here, and that's the second residential unit. And then it's just tucked in the back there. You can kind of see it in the back. So it's just in the middle. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then if you want to go back, perfect, thank you. And then just real simple, we're going to do aluminum doors and windows, CMU, and then we're going to go with this plaster, which is, sorry, I can't read that. And it's like a dove gray color. So, and beyond that, that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. We will open up public comment for item number 3.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. I'll start with in-person public comment. I do have a slip from a Miss Angeline Pepe. If you could approach the podium, you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Yes, my name is Angelina Pepe, and I live at 1180 East Haley in Santa Barbara. I look, the picture, and I think, they're two-story, two-family. It's too high. It will take me all the view off the mountain. I have no privacy. As the studio is close to my garage, is not going to be enough, I think, land, left between their property and my property. And I think, this is really, too high and take too much view of my privacy. I would not be able to see the mountain, and it is just, the zone is enough for two family. I would say one family unit, would be just fine, but not two. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, I do not have any additional slips. If anyone else wishes to make a comment, they may fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so, so we will turn our attention to virtual comment. And at this time, I do not have any hands raised for virtual comment, and we did not receive any written correspondence for this project. So at that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Okay, thanks. We will close public comment for item 3. Before we go into questions, can you go to an aerial image and kind of walk us through where the neighbors sit, the proximity to your proposal, and your required setbacks?
Yeah, no problem. So the setbacks are 6 feet on the sides. That's this neighbor right here at 1118. So really the views she's talking about is from her lower yard that may block her mountain views. This is her primary residence up here with a garage off the side. And just to note, all these garages are probably on this downhill side 15 feet, as you can see here. It's about 8 feet plus another 5. So all of these garages are already essentially 1.5 stories. So it's 6 feet on the side, and then the rear is 6 feet, and then the front, obviously we're not touching anything up here, so that's 20 feet in the front. So all of these, you can see encroach. And then just to note, 2 stories, there's multiple 2 stories in this neighborhood. So it does fit the consistency. These, unfortunately, are the last little homes that have not been touched at this time. Let me see if there's another good photo here. I guess that's the best aerial. There's that one there. You can see over here 2 stories with a walkout garage, very almost exactly configuration we're doing.
And then would you mind just going to your, I guess it would be your second floor plan?
To show the
and
windows.
Yes,
Yeah.
and location of
I
neighbors.
forgot to bring that up when I figured there would be comments. So we did try to keep it somewhat minimal. This is the biggest window we can look at, working through that fenestration a bit, but really this is the only window facing there. There's a small one that will be at the sink. There is we'll obviously rebuild these kind of retaining walls as we go through, and then there's a fence on top. So I'll go to the elevation after this, but so we have a kitchen window here, a single window here, and then a small one off the corner that really will face that way. So privacy, this would be the only one, but again, it's looking towards the backyard and not into her, the lower yard, not into her primary backyard. And then on this side, it's just bedroom egress windows. So just small kind of windows above nightstands. So, and we try to create that rhythm, just simplify those. Same with these ones as well. And then I'll go, just since we're here, I'll just touch on the ADU, and there's, I don't believe any window, there's just, 2 small windows, again, above the nightstands for, so really no privacy concern here. I mean, privacy, this is, as you can see actually here, this is their garage structure, so there shouldn't be any privacy here. They'll be much higher than we are.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to questions from the board. Board Member Noon, would you like to start?
Sure. Just a couple quick ones. On that front elevation, or the one we're looking at here, did you consider, I know you mentioned the solar angle, but did you consider something other than 2 gables tucked together?
We did. We worked through a few iterations because we are having the same issue with the ADU up on the side here. So we ended up on this configuration, one, because it created a kind of rhythm with the ADU. So they're kind of both have these gable ends, which sort of where we wanted to go. And we thought it was just a little bit more interesting. We really are trying to maximize sort of the square footage and compress everything. So we did do multiple iterations. We actually submitted a PRT to begin with. So we went through the planner review previously, and we did have it the other way. And so we did go through several iterations, but this is sort of the strongest one we landed on.
Okay. I think you clarified looked like some of your images, your inspirational images had windows that were not recessed, but I think you clarified that you are doing recessed windows. Okay. And then, excuse me, I think you kind of touched on the privacy, and maybe we'll look at that further down the road. Some sections might be nice to see how that's going to be addressed.
Absolutely.
But sorry, that was a comment.
Oops. Board Member Anderson, do you have any questions?
Yeah, can you go to the site plan, please? Or maybe a roof or a floor plan, because this is a roof plan. Something that's cutting through the building. Okay, well, so was there a concept behind kind of why you chose to site the building as you did? Because this is a multi-family project, so you know, where is the shared space, and how do you envision people experiencing this space?
So this is really a 2-unit residential, so there is each unit will have its own private yard, so there really is no shared. The concept isn't to have a shared space because we want these to be single-family residential units, not really a apartment complex. The reason we place it down here is that we need to provide parking for the second residential unit, and 2 parking spaces are required due to the existing conditions of the single driveway with a single car garage. This is the only configuration for parking. And so for economy of scales, we place the second residential unit at this location.
I see. Can you maybe flip to a site section? That's maybe more clear.
Yeah.
So you have a requirement to provide parking, and this is where you felt that it was best to go ahead and excavate out at the bottom of the site. Is that correct?
Yeah, and there, just to note on the existing site plan, you can see there already is an existing parking space, so this really does minimize grading as well.
And can you flip back to that existing site plan? Could you get the required parking in that existing parking spot?
No.
How much wider do you need?
We can't park in the setback, and so it wouldn't work cost-wise, configuration-wise. We want to provide additional parking for the accessory dwelling unit. This area is very impacted with parking, so we want to have as much off-street parking as possible. So and we can't have any of the foundation or structural walls in the setback. So at that point, we just went with 3 because we were already, there would only be a small sliver left.
And the last question. So was there any investigation or interest you had as the author of the project into this site has these terraced and with the fruit trees, and so there's clearly this history of some sort of they're growing things on the terrace. Was there some interest in what the story is behind this place and this site?
No. I mean, these are old citrus trees that were pretty much look dead, and that is why we did terrace the project, that we tried to keep with that kind of rhythm of the existing. So we could have just, graded this out, put this ADU right on the same level. It would have been a lot more grading, a lot more cut, a lot more fill. So we tried to keep with that rhythm of you come out to where the garage, this is the upper level, you come out to the garage, to their private patio, you walk down, they have a private patio, you walk down, they have a private patio. So we feel that we are keeping consistent sort of with the character of the yard.
Okay, and then just one more. Can you walk me through the site circulation? Where are they moving?
Yep.
Where's the stairs and all that?
Yeah, so you come through the existing driveway, existing single-car garage for the primary residence. The trash will be up here, so part of what we'll be doing is the trash will be underneath these kind of existing enclosed stairs. And so what we'll be doing is you'll come down, you'll walk through. There's stairs down. These are existing stairs, or there'll be new stairs, but about the existing location. Or I'll go back to the existing site plan after this. Then you go into this accessory dwelling unit, then you'll come through, stairs down, you're at the level of the second residential unit, you go into their private yard, into their house, and then you come down through these stairs. So the stairs kind of come up, have a landing, jog, come up. So we wanted to pull the stairs closest to the house, have a planter to create some privacy and some green. Then we pulled it to this side to create a little relief from the windows at that upper level. So, and again, there'll be a planter on this side. You'll see the floor plan. And so it's just to create a little bit more of kind of a meandering area path, I guess, circulation to get through everything. Let me just quickly go, as you can see here. So you kind of come up. The second residential unit has their own internal stairs. So they come up through their garage, but everyone else will gate. You come up, you're at this level, you come in, you go up, and then this will jog over and you go into the ADU.
Board Member 6?
Yeah, I think my first question is to staff. If the limits on fence at the property line is, if the fence is on the higher properties, property, then they can go up 6 feet regardless of the height of the neighboring property?
Through the chair, the fence limitation, I believe, is actually 8 feet along the interior lot lines. It's just in the front that it has to be reduced. And yes, we would measure on either side of the fence to
So
determine
if-
that exact height. Yeah.
So if one is lower, then the rule is from the lower, correct?
At which point, if you can just clarify.
Well, obviously, the neighbors on both sides are lower than this project is, especially at his terracing.
Okay.
So is he going to have to maintain his height of his fences with his neighbor's grade or with his grade?
So this particular project, one, because the project is terraced, the fencing would be measured at each point as it's going down going down the terraced areas. And each point would not be able to exceed 8 feet.
From the neighbor's grade, correct? Okay, thanks. Well, my question, well, I think I answered that question. So just some minors. So I'm assuming that the rear units have a trash area in the very lower left-hand corner. Is that what I see on the plans? The man gate?
We'll be moving, all the trash will be up at the primary residence because the trash service is along Haley. Again, we're exploring, I don't believe there's any trash service along the alley just because of the width.
Okay.
But again, that's something as we move forward with, we're, trying to get positive comments, sort of figure out mass, bulk, and scale, and then that's the next step. But essentially, all the trash will be up here because it'll have to be brought up the driveway without any steps.
Okay, and then my last question is, would you go to one of your overall site plans?
Yeah. There we go.
Let's go to the bigger site plan with the second
This on the left.
residence. Well, or the two planting areas on the left-hand
Yeah,
side.
let me go to the floor plan for just, that'd be better to see it. Here we go. These, you mean on
Yeah,
here?
these
So,
guys,
okay.
they seem landlocked. I don't see how, are you planning to grow some lovely weeds in there, or what?
There'll be some kind of, again, we'll have a landscape architect on this, but there'll be just sort of trees through a drip system, and it's really, they're just to.
But they're inaccessible for maintenance and so forth, correct?
They're not that big of retaining walls, so we can put a ladder there.
You hop over, okay.
I mean, they're, maybe less than 5 feet. Each of these are less than 5 feet, so.
All right.
Yeah, and again, this one, they're really just to create additional privacy and greenery, and when we come back, we'll have a landscape plan to show you.
Okay, thanks.
Vice Chair Whalen?
I don't know about you, Member 6, but I cannot hop over a 5-foot wall any longer, but good eye on that. Could you go to your site photos for a minute? I just want to clarify on one of the photos.
Which, this sheet?
On the middle far left, you said that's a walkout from the garage. I
Yeah.
can't, for the life of me, figure out what I'm looking at.
I
from
know
what point of
I know
view.
that photo was deceiving. It's right here. So there's the garage.
Oh, and we're looking.
Yeah, we're
west
looking
to
at
the north.
Yeah, and yeah,
There's
exactly.
the
Look at the garage.
neighboring garage.
Exactly, and it's really
Very
just to
good.
show that it is a walkout.
Thank you
and
for
they're consistent.
solving that
Yeah.
puzzle. And then on sheet A102, you show what I think is the same plan on each, with, the roof is slightly different. The one on the left looks like it has a cricket. They're really the same, right?
And this was
You just did that to.
for the planner
confuse
letter.
us.
No, yes, and the cricket was on a different phase. I did pick that up, but essentially,
One is with an ADU, the other is without.
and this is just to show the open yard is met
Yes.
without the ADU, and then the new open yards with the ADU.
And then, very minor question on your inspiration images, sheet A888. Why Japan?
This, yes, I realized when I was looking at this, I should have just cropped that out because I thought that might be a comment.
They're very elegant. Don't misinterpret me, but
It wasn't necessarily, it was more looking for a backup of the style we've sort of developed to show that it can be done successfully. And so this one sort of really reflects the one we're leaning towards, not with the wood, surrounds, but more of the recessed window, the CMU, the soft stucco. And so it's just really to create this kind of simplified look instead of the
they're
traditional.
very elegant. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Just one follow-up. Speaking about the roof, can you talk about the drainage and if you're going to have downspouts and where they might go?
Yeah, we'll have downspouts. Luckily, there is a storm drain in the alley, so that's a good point. We'll have to maybe shift this window, resize this window slightly. There will be a downspout that will come down here. Again, these doors are changing size slightly too. This one's going to get bigger. There's about 12 to 16 inches now after we modified sort of on each side just to get that maneuvering clearance. So there'll be one on here that will affect this window. But beyond that, on the other side, it'll be similar. We'll just come down in internal drains.
Okay. Any follow-up questions? Let's move into comments. He's here for concept review. So Board Member Noon, comments.
I'm supportive, obviously, of the project. I think the size, I think you're compatible with other properties, with your intent and the two-story. Personally, the double gable, I think, we just pointed out that, it's just going to be problematic. If you could, I would encourage you to maybe resolve that. I think one of your images showed a double gable that they were separate with a flat roof, but, I don't know that that's the solution, but that seems to me like is really a point that really needs a lot of attention. But the rest of it, I would support. Again, on the privacy, it would be anxious to see, how that gets resolved and how that is getting worked out. But that's it.
Board Member Anderson?
Yeah, I think this project, in my view, is kind of ahead of itself. It's not fully cooked at the level of the site plan, and I think that starts with the fact that the site plan is a roof plan. So I would encourage you to cut the site plan through the building, and that cut can change so it captures both of the upper and lower buildings. And I think that the site analysis really needs to be done, and as Board Member 6 is pointing out, you can't even access the planners. So I think the site plan is kind of convoluted right now, and there's a lack of clarity, there's a lack of breathability to the massing and the way the buildings are sited. So I think before you elevate the buildings and before you kind of decide on whatever style, those questions are less important than getting the fundamentals of the site plan right. And, I think as I'm imagining myself experiencing this site, it actually seems kind of treacherous to kind of get down all these stairs. And so I don't feel that this project is super comfortable for a human to occupy it. And in terms of the experience of the massing, I don't feel like it's very sympathetic to either the site or the context. That's just before any questions of style or the aesthetics of how it looks. So I would hope to see, a level of clarity in the site design before proceeding with questions of aesthetics and in terms of the drawings themselves, to clean up the drawings so we can read the dimensions and the overall layouts a little bit better, because it's kind of hard to read. There's a lot of information here. So yeah, that's my comments.
Vice Chair Whalen?
Well, as a counterpoint, I think it's a very elegant site plan. In fact, there are many qualities about it that are Japanesque, if you will, tying back into my other comment, that as one wanders through the site, discovering different size spaces, small gardens, I think you've packed a lot into a site that is commendable, that aside from hopping over 5-foot walls, which we'll leave for another discussion. No, I think it's in character with the neighborhood size, mass, bulk, and scale. It's compatible. In fact, I might even encourage you on some of the elevations to revisit your inspiration images, and that the elevations proposed be less symmetrical, less rigorous, and reflect more of those qualities, because there are very few opportunities in Santa Barbara where one can do a more, shall we say, modern or pan-Pacific design. This is one of them, where you're on an isolated alley. You're not going to be impeded by any major public throughways. I kind of like the double gable, but I understand the inherent problems of keeping the water out, which is rule number one of architecture. So I can approve this concept review. Thank you.
Board Member Six?
Yes, it's interesting with the new housing rules and encouragement that, here we have a project that, each step considered separately is okay. The first step being the second residence looks pretty reasonable. And then this third step is the ADU, which doesn't have any impact on density, site use and density and so forth, and that's correct, but the total result is a very crowded, convoluted site. But I think it's, there's nothing we can do about that. So I think that in the interest of, I think it's a good solution for dense housing in a unique fashion. I do think that I resonate with Mr. Wayland on, I think your inspiration images are where this needs to go, with no eave overhangs and clean and a lot less cosmopolitan. I am concerned with neighbors on both sides. If I look at the images that on A901 with these cascading high fences, recognizing that both neighbors, I think, are lower than you, what actually is they're going to see, and especially with the rules of, as I mentioned, the 8-foot high to the lower neighbor, I think that those should be restudied, and maybe the privacy issues be handled in the window openings rather than at the fence, at the property lines. And so I would like to see true elevations next time of what both neighbors are actually going to see, and some thought put to, being a happy neighbor. And I had, just very minor, I think that you should bring your, on this image where we have here, you should bring the stucco down to the garage headers as the original garage is a slim little piece of block as a header doesn't work, and that in the mid-site, if we go to the mid-site, I think, in plan,
Oh, okay, yep.
on your AD unit, ADU unit, can we see a plan of that?
Oh, yeah. Let's see, actually, one second, let me just scroll down. There you go.
Yeah, if you could, it's so tight in front of the entry to the ADU, could you pull those steps descending down to it back up slope to give a little room for that entry? Other than that, I think it's an interesting solution and doesn't overwhelm, except for the details that I've talked about at the fence lines and so forth. I think that it is a good solution to bring more housing into the area.
Yes, I'd concur with a lot of the comments already stated. I think the site plan is consistent with sloping properties in the downtown area where there's multiple units. I would definitely bring the plaster down to the header of the garage doors and consider a different or stacked pattern for the CMU. I would consider really articulating your eave details and looking at window proportions, similar to the images that you provided. Definitely go in the direction of those. And that would be, yeah, that'd be my comment. I'm in support of the project.
Just minor, just to work out, to utilize those trap planters in some way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I can give it a shot.
And through the chair, just in your motion, if you can make a recommendation if this is okay to go to the staff hearing officer for the modification, or if you'd like to see it again before it goes to the staff hearing officer. Thank you.
Do we need to see it again?
What?
I don't think we need to see it again.
No, I
before.
don't think so.
So I'll make a motion for continuance to staff hearing officer with the following comments. The board is supportive of the site, the design for the site as it's laid out, as is presented. The board would encourage pushing more towards the inspiration images with your overall design. We'd like to see the privacy issues, how you resolve that. I think that's it. Anything else that?
No, I'll second that.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Ms. Plummer, do you need a specific lot area modification for its aesthetic appropriateness to go to the staff hearing officer?
Through the chair, commissioner, or board member, so for this particular project, I think if it's sufficient to just say that the second residence is appropriate, that's fine.
That's fine.
Okay. If there's no discussion?
Chair Anderson, can we include in the motion minor site improvements as suggested in the discussions?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Like what?
Yeah,
What
can
are
you
they?
be-
I think he meant regarding the steps next to the ADU, pushing them northwest
The block
up,
wall retaining.
and then access to the planters, and, and landscape plan. Okay, let's take a vote.
I'm sorry, who was the second on that?
Oh, me.
Chair Anderson.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, yes, let's take a vote. Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
No.
Board Member Noon,
Yes?
Board Member Six.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, would you like to state your reason?
Yeah, well, like I said, I feel the site plan is lacking clarity, and the circulation and the layout of the buildings on the site is needs further development, further refinement.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to item number 4. I know, I'm so excited.
Doesn't happen.
Okay, item number 4, this is a new item for concept review, 2405, 2415 De La Vina Street. Proposal to merge 2405 and 2415 De La Vina Street and remove the Cottage Rehabilitation Hospital, including administrative building, to allow for construction of a 44-unit, 2-story residential condominium development to provide 100% employee housing for Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital. Project includes 43 on-grade parking spaces, which will be accessed from the alley at the rear of the 2 lots, and 47 parking spaces in a garage for a total of 90 parking spaces. Project will also provide 44 bicycle parking spaces and hardscape and landscape improvements throughout. Includes a request for a specific plan, general plan, and zoning amendment, and planning commission review and approval of a tentative subdivision map and conditional use permit. As currently designed, the project will also require modification to not meet the minimum open yard requirements and a modification to allow minor encroachments into a required interior setback. No final appealable decision was made at this hearing. Will require compliance with project compatibility findings and urban design guidelines.
And Board Member Anderson, I need to step down. I have a conflict.
Okay, thank you. Anything from staff? Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. So for this particular project, this is the first conceptual review for this item. As discussed in the project description, the overall project will be removing the Cottage Rehabilitation Hospital and then replacing it with a 44-unit condominium development. They are proposing to provide essentially 2 spaces for each of the units. Some of the parking spaces are going to be on grade, some are going to be within a garage. The 2 points I would like you to know is the open yard modification. That is going to be looked at with respect to the specific plan amendment that's being requested with this project. Right now, it does trigger that. And I do want to note that they are providing private patios for all the units. We're still looking at whether those meet the minimum dimensions. They're also providing some common open yard area, but it doesn't meet the full required amount necessary currently. So just in your overview of the design and looking at the proposed density, if those open yard areas seem sufficient aesthetically for the development. The interior setback modification that was noted, that's something we'll also be looking at with the specific plan amendment that's being requested. There's some parking spaces in the alley portion of the property that already have an agreement to encroach in the setback there, but they're adding some additional parking spaces to match those, as well as there's trash enclosures that I believe minimally encroach right now. That'll probably continue to be studied. And then one other request is if you can have any feedback on story poles for this application, whether it's necessary. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourselves, and you have 15 minutes.
Okay, Brian Cornell, Heidi Jones is here, as well as Nick Henderson and Scott Allen from Cottage, and Miles Henry, who's going to help me with the machine, but has been helping me a lot with the design. So this is really exciting because the rehab hospital has been slated to move out to the Goleta campus for some time. So this is a perfect, ideal use for housing. Interestingly, our density is above what the allowable density would be in this, on this site, even though this isn't a terribly dense project. We have modeled it after the units at Bella Riviera, the old St. Francis site, which obviously has been a tremendous success. And the goal for Cottage here is that these, all of these units will be well below market. It's interesting that there is a conflict between the amount of money that the Cottage employees make and meeting the city's affordability requirements, and so that's part of why we are doing this specific plan. I think the goal is that, just to give you a sense, that these units will sell in the neighborhood of $700,000, so it will be tremendously below market. So let me just take you through the photos of the site real quick. This is the corner of Quinto and De La Vina. Then this is the little apartment buildings that are just north of us. And then, of course, the rehab hospital. And this is the little administration building that is at the very end of the property. So that wall and those stairs are actually going to remain as part of our project. Then this next slide. Yeah, so that's across the street. That's the intersection with Junipero. Across the street, and then this is looking down the alley from Quinto, and this is the beginning of the rehab site. So you can see these parking spaces are pretty much going to remain in this place. They're going to be reconfigured slightly, but in this corner is going to be one of the new trash enclosures. And then this is just looking back up at that apartment project north of us. Then this is looking back up the alley towards Quinto. You can see the NAP parking structure on the left photo, and then, of course, a direct view of that NAP parking structure. And then this is looking back towards the end of the alley, and there is an apartment building that's down there. We'll show you a view of what that looks like before. So these, as I said, we are modeling these exactly after the buildings up at St. Francis at Bella Riviera. They're very simple little 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom units, and then we've got a handful of 3-bedroom units that end up being the units at the end. I'll show you that later. We're trying to keep the parking at 2 spaces per unit. And so we've repeated that parking as it is, except we've added some planters, which Bob can describe later. I failed to introduce Bob Cunningham, by the way, who's here to talk about the landscaping. And so we've basically configured these in little duplex, triplex, 4-plex, 5-plex, and 1 6-plex arrangement. Next slide. And then we have, because the grade changes from north to south, is probably about a 7.5-foot drop. And so we are entering at the lowest part of the site to get into underground parking to be able to meet that 2 space per unit goal. And then it's just, you can see the section indicators there on the plan. If we look at the sections, it'll give you a sense of, on the next slide, just how the underground parking is being tucked in, the basic slope of the site in that lower section gives a good understanding. So quickly going through the renders, we want to keep these buildings very simple. It's actually wonderful that we're building a 2-story project in this neighborhood, which I think is obviously appropriate. And we've kind of come up with little tricks to keep these buildings not feel too massive, in particular that sort of roof element between them where the stairwells are. And we have kind of a little kit of parts, how we're going to have porches on some, flat roofs on others. The majority of the roofs are flat to be able to incorporate as much photovoltaics as possible, but this is basically the view at the corner that you saw before of rehab looking down De La Vina. You can see the little key plan below. Next one. Then this is the opening and the entrance. I will talk more about the little open space in the middle, but this is the main pedestrian entrance to that middle open space. And then this is down at the lower portion where that existing administration building is, and that's the stone wall that we're keeping. And then off the alley, you can see the little trash enclosure that we've added, and then the parking as it exists today. The NAP structure is on the right. And then the entrance to the parking garage and another little trash enclosure down at this end of the site. So with that, let's go to the, oh, that's right, we have 2 more slides. So this is, and by the way, if you really, we've again emulated what happens up at Bella Riviera, and I think it would be worth a little walk up there because they really do feel good as they face each other on these courtyards. And as Pilar mentioned, you can go ahead and switch to the next one. As Pilar mentioned, we're going to have these little backyard. Every single one of these units has a little backyard space. Some of the ones will be over the podium, but some of them will actually be on Mother Earth. So this is sort of the main entrance back into that open space in the middle of the site. So let's switch to the other set. Let's go to page 4, just so you can see what the existing site is. So you can see on the right there, it's actually a separate lot that has that administration building. And then let's go to 5. And then this is the configuration. Again, I didn't point it out, but there is that open space in the middle. This, of course, is the civil plan, but you can see on this, again, the little individual yard spaces. And we're also building off of those individual yard spaces, little storage sheds, which kind of become part of the architecture. Let's go to number 16. Just so that you can see, this is the basic unit type. So pretty simple. Again, what we did up at St. Francis, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And then the 3-bedroom units end up being on the end condition. And although these don't show all the variations, we're again kind of coming up with a kit of parts for these different roof lines and whatnot to create diversity within the project. I think with that, we'll let Bob come up briefly and talk about the landscape plan 21. You want to sit there? Or you?
Sit there, good.
Excuse me. Where's our color drawing?
Can you state your name for the record and then also pull the mic in just a little further? Thanks.
I've never done this before, sorry.
That's a good question. I didn't know you had a color drawing.
This is Bob Cunningham, landscape architect. Okay, well, we don't have a colored plan, so what you see in front of you now is the north side.
Yeah.
Can you pull it in for the board? Just a little bit closer, thank you.
Sure. And I'm sorry, the colored plan also has colored photographs of all the plants that we're proposing.
We have that. That's, you have the plants are two sheets.
Okay, can we go to that now then?
Sure. There's some color.
There you go. So,
You know, I asked him, I said, why don't we have a colored landscape plan?
sent it to you. Okay, well, basically what you're seeing is along the top, the tree selections that we've made. We've got quite a few of them, looking for a lot of variety in the landscape, and also plants that will fit into very tight, narrow spaces. So everything is, in spite of what you see in the photographs, most of these plants can be kept narrow and upright so that they're not growing into the windows of the buildings. It's all a drought-tolerant, low-water-using landscape. Shade-tolerant plants for the shady spots and sun-loving plants in the sunny spots. I guess you could say it's a very Santa Barbara palette. We're keeping a few of the existing trees that we have, the jacarandas on De La Vina Street, the big palms on De La Vina, one acacia tree on the backside across from the Knapp parking garage. We're adding 4 oak trees as we would have done this anyway, but they're mitigation for removals that we're making on another project that's also a cottage project. The big space in the middle, I guess we can go back to the plan. Thanks. There you go. Okay, so.
Split in half. It's
Kind of split, yeah.
Okay, so the big space on the right-hand side is an open lawn area. You know, we're taking advantage of the stormwater requirements by having a big permeable open space. We've got sycamore trees at the bottom end of that, and a lot of queen palms for some verticality, because they've got some, you know, tall buildings and narrow spaces. This is not a totally native landscape, but quite a few natives that we're able to incorporate into the design. That's, I guess, about what. If you'd like to know more, I can carry on, but I've heard myself enough.
So let's go back to the site plan, and then I think that concludes our presentation.
Great. Thank you. We will open up public comment for item number 4.
Thank you, Chair Anderson. At this time, I will start in-person public comment. I do not have any slips for this particular project. If anyone wishes to make a comment, they may fill one out and bring it to me. I see no one in the audience moving to do so. And at this time, I will turn my attention to virtual attendance. And I do not see any hands raised for public comment on virtual attendance. And we did not receive any written correspondence for this item. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair Anderson.
Okay, we'll close public comment and go to questions from the board. Board Member 6, would you like to start?
First to staff, the nature of these modifications, do we need to get excited about these at this point? Are they significant to debate them in the nature of the overall design and density?
Through the chair, Board Member 6, I'm only pointing out that right now the project does require those modifications. I think you can look big picture. Are they aesthetically appropriate, you know, just given the site plan layout?
Okay, thanks. I'll just zoom right into just some very specifics here, given the quality of the project. The arrangement of the lower hand, the lower trash area, it seems like that's off-center, and pedestrians crossing the mouth of the driveway and so forth. Wasn't there a more central way to switch that around so there wasn't that conflict and that remoteness?
Garage.
I'm sure there's a logic to it, but
Well, I think the main thing we wanted was to have trash, you know, accessible to the elevator. So yes, it's true, when you come down the elevator, you do have to cross that entrance to the garage, and then it's just a very slight slope up to the trash. But, you know, that was really what drove the positioning of that, so that it was accessible to that elevator.
You can't put more parking on the other side of the driveway and switch that over? Or is it just a question of space? And well, it just seems a awkward way to, the rest of the project's so well designed, it seems that that's awkward, and I guess you have very strong restrictions there?
Well, I think it would be a grade issue, because of course the alley is that much higher on the other side of the driveway entrance. So I think at that point I'd have trouble getting from the elevator to the trash.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we can certainly look at it as long as it doesn't result in loss of parking, but.
Well, if your applicant, if your owner is okay with that and the logic is there, so it just seems like a stretch. And then and your rendered overall elevations,
What sheet is?
Elevations or the plans?
The elevations
broad,
are on
the broad,
17.
the broad elevations, the
17.
rendered elevations. Yeah, the lower elevation, there seems to be a 3-story element right in the middle
Oh,
there.
that is the NAP.
Oh,
That's the NAP parking structure, so it just,
I
it's
get it.
modeled, and so it gets caught in that view.
it's not a clock tower
No,
to
no,
call.
we don't have a tower.
To call all the employees to their shift.
No, yeah, that's, yeah.
And then there seems to be, is that the same story with the, what looks like microwave towers on the upper elevation? There's 2 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, those are just
Beyond?
the existing power poles beyond. Yeah.
Beyond, okay. That's it.
Vice Chair Whalen?
Thank you, Chair Anderson. Questions, so many questions. First of all, what a great project that I'm sure the community and the hospital is looking forward to, and I think overall it looks really, really nice. First to the plumber, what exactly would be the common open yard element that the project should comply with? How is that, can you go to your image 14? How would that differ from what is here?
Sure. Through the chair, Commissioner Whalen. So the 2 requirements currently for open yard is 1 private open yard for each of the units, so they each need those. And then for essentially the common area, they're required to provide 9,376 square feet, and right now they're proposing 486 square feet.
That couldn't be that lawn.
400?
No, it's got to be,
4,800.
4,800.
That sounds.
4,800,
So
I'm
you're
sorry.
about at 50%.
yeah.
Yes.
That's rough numbers work best at this stage.
Yeah, although, Pilar, I think in the open space calculation, we'd also include some landscape yards and that kind of thing, right? Wouldn't that be in it?
Passageways and mews, that sort of thing.
So through the chair, again, Commissioner Whalen, so it's 15% of the net lot area that they're allowed to provide. They do have to meet minimum dimensions of, what is it? Yeah, 10 by, what is it?
10 by 20 or?
I believe there's a main
yeah.
space of 20 by 20, and then the other subsequent spaces have to be 10
I
by
think,
10.
yeah, it's 10 by 10. There is some other flexibility if this was pursued under the AUD program where you don't have to meet those minimum dimensions, but this project isn't proposed
So
under AUD.
a common open space can be an agglomeration. It is not necessarily one big lump. Okay.
Yeah, and for
That's
instance,
helpful.
the AUD exception, just to point it out, that courtyard that is over the parking podium
Yes.
can't be counted because the ordinance doesn't account for that other than in the AUD.
Yeah, it occurs to me that it's the parking that's driving the whole project. The number of units and.
Form follows parking.
Right. We learned that in school. Mr. Cunningham, a couple of landscape questions. If you zero in on the lower center section, there appear to be 2 pathways, if you can zoom in there. So what's going on there? Why are there, he'll get there. He always does. A little to the right. You see,
These 2 here.
yeah, why are there 2 pathways? Is that, you're trying to resolve the grade and get people out to the parking?
It's grade differential, yes.
Yeah, that's what's
Well,
going on.
And
yeah.
access to the
Yeah.
accessible stalls
One
here.
Well,
path
yeah,
is the
you're trying to
accessible
get-
path, and then the other one is from the alley grade that then
Up to the unit.
meanders up to
So
the
if I
open
had
space.
parked out there, I have to schlep up and then turn right and then, okay, got
Yes.
it. And would that be counted as part of the common open space, that area between the units with the paths?
Through the chair, Commissioner Wayland. So open yard areas can't include required access egress paths, so that would be the.
Very good. And it's pretty clear that the parking is mechanically vented. Where is the out vent? Is that on the plans yet?
It is.
And you can click and drag if that's easier than
Oh, yeah.
having to.
So
Is
the
it
vent is here.
Next to
It'll
the
be a-
exit stair?
Correct.
Okay. Seems small, but if you got enough power in there, I suppose it'll work.
Okay.
And then how do you access that alleyway parking? It's clear from the center where you've added that, but are there other points that you move from the alley parking into the complex that I'm not seeing? Because it just looks like there's one way.
Well, there is from left to right. There obviously is the pathway at the accessible stalls, and then you can go left or right, and there's the one in the middle. All those spaces below that middle access point, though, they would have to walk back up the alley to go in at that central location.
And while we're there talking about that, in that center access point, there's one square above the tree. What is going on there? Maybe if you really zoom in. You see my question?
Yeah,
It's
I'm not
right next to the
sure.
4.83%. What is that square?
I believe it's just more permeable pavers that may turn into planting area. It can be flexible.
Part of the circulation or a bench to
Yeah.
hang out? All right, all right. So have you investigated how to create one large central space to address this common open area in alternate layouts, or is this all driven by the parking?
Well, no, I mean, we tried to keep the parking structure as compact as possible.
Well, right, but it seems to be driving the layout of the units.
Well,
Well, what I'm driving at is, have you looked at alternate layouts for an expanded common area?
Well, I don't think, given the unit count, that I could get an expanded common area without losing units. I mean, we certainly have looked at a number of different configurations. Obviously, I wanted to have the units along De La Vina face De La Vina and have door stoops.
Yes.
And we kept those all as duplexes and triplexes so that we could have that kind of nice frontage. And then it made sense to run the rest of the configurations as we've shown it. So, and I wanted the open space to be in the middle. So I think we tried to make it as big as we possibly could, but still give the individual units their own little backyards.
All right. Oh, and is there a street tree identified for De La Vina?
Yes, there is.
Yes, good. What is it?
It's,
It's in the plan, though.
yeah, it's
Okay.
Melaleucas staphyloides.
Okay, very good.
It's
Those are
much
my
bigger than the trees that we have there currently, the firewheel trees.
those are my questions.
Board Member Anderson?
Why are the units rotated on the De La Vina side?
You mean angled?
Yeah, parallel to the property line like the rest.
We obviously started with the arrangement at the upper right to align with that angled parcel, and so that kind of carried it, and I just didn't want to have everything be at that same angle, so we wanted to rotate the units kind of as they went up or down De La Vina, depending on your point of view. We also, the units, the little duplex that is on the upper left is pulled back to save the palm tree configuration that you see in that upper corner. So, we played with these just to try to get the best configurations and allow for some front porches in some of the units and just create variety as one traveled down De La Vina.
Okay, so it's kind of your vision of how people would walk by and kind of perceive this kind of shifting of how you view these things to just kind of mix it up. All right. And following up on Board Member Whalen's comments about the open space and the common open space, is there, because this is a multifamily project, so is there some sort of desire to create more of a shared space, or do you see that central yard functioning as a courtyard, or and if so, how? Because it does seem from the renderings that there's a lot of grade changes going on there.
Well, the open space itself, the lawn area, is all flat. And I think, we talked about doing play areas or whatever in that. It just seemed like it's obviously not as, it's not that big, but it seemed like a lawn was the best ultimate material to put there. Obviously not making it too much lawn, but just enough for it to be sort of a play area for the residents.
And what's the shared storage that's just like for residents to put stuff in, or?
Well, the city's requirements for condominiums is 300 cubic feet of storage. So basically, we've tried to comply with that with these little extensions off of the units, and they actually end up being little simple shed elements that will have red tile roof, and I think end up being kind of a nice little scale transition from the 2-story to the 1-story.
To add to that response, that shared storage there in the courtyard that I think you're talking about, we were discussing just livability of condominium complexes and how sometimes there feels like there's a need to be able to have some shared storage for like throwing some
Croquet
community
set,
events or games or things like that the residents might not want to store in their individual units, or some things that they share, so that'll help engage the residents a little bit more, feel like they can use that area.
You answered the question much better than I did. Thank you.
So much younger.
Well, he listened to the question.
I learned a lot in that. So I learned about the requirement for 300 cubic feet of storage, so
yeah,
that's good. Good to know. Okay, and then maybe I just missed this part, but the access to the parking below, where is the ramp? Or that's
where that section cut is?
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking. It just doesn't have that arrow thing on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so they descend down below there.
And that, again, is the lowest part of the site, so that
Yeah.
was why we put the parking down there.
Okay. All right, well, that's pretty much my questions.
Yeah, real quick, could one of you walk me through what your thoughts are on the De La Vina Street Parkway and what the different blocks of color are representing? Like, is that concrete and planting, or is that?
Go ahead, Bob.
Excuse me. It's my understanding that the city arborist would like to have as much of that existing paving removed,
Okay.
so that we've just got more room for the trees.
Okay. I was just curious what your plan was representing. In your rendering, it was more of the hand rendering. It looked like you had a white picket fence. Is that your intention?
Yeah, that's what we had as a placeholder for now.
Okay. Okay, those are my questions. Any follow-up questions? Okay, let's go into comments. We're here
I actually have one more
Okay,
follow-up.
go ahead.
Is there a reason why all the units are parallel, or was there any, like, except for that one kind of little pod at that, down on Plan South, or, where I'm referring to
Yeah.
those 3 2-bedrooms?
Yeah.
Or was there any studies on, like, different kind of, more playful arrangements of these, like you did on the De La Vina side?
Well, obviously, as soon as we get into the, 5-plexes, it becomes a little harder to have that, and we have this constraint of these, this parallelogram of a site. So really, that one little triplex, I think, again, was just an attempt to tweak it a little bit so that everything wasn't aligned. Obviously, over the parking structure, it kind of needs to be and wants to be a little more regimented, and so that, that's why everything's aligned in that respect. But we did play a lot with moving these guys around in different configurations, and ultimately, the goal was to get as many units as we could, and 44 is what we were able to achieve, and the more the better, obviously, for the employees of Cottage, so.
All right, let's go into comments. Oh,
Sorry to interrupt. And just as a reminder, we do have the story pole exemption findings. So if you want to look at those and also include any comments about that in your deliberations.
are those new? Story pole exemption findings?
No.
Oh, I feel like, okay.
Certainly, I would hope that we can give you a plethora of
Yeah.
renderings to help you so that, given the two-story scale of this, I would hope that we wouldn't have to go to that expense.
Okay, so Vice Chair Whalen, would you like to start with your comments?
Sure, I'll start with the story poles. While we can all envision your masterful drawings, I believe the story poles are as much for the public and not for us, so that they know what's happening and they're aware of it, despite their, I don't think there's a need for them. I think you've done a masterful job here. It's efficient, but densely packed units. The materials and architectural expressions are exemplary and in perfect character with the city. You've got a nice display of details. Where I find that it needs some more attention is this open space and common shared space. It lacks an identity and it lacks in scope and scale. And while it sounds heretical, I would encourage you to look at reducing the number of units and parking to increase this shared open space, because it occurs to me that some of the passageways rather resemble hospital corridors. And I think you want to do everything you can to encourage all of these people who live here that they have this shared identity and this respite and a wonderful place to go to once they leave the hospital. I'm assuming that they all live at the hospital, but they're all a part of the cottage system. And if that's not, and that might be possible by moving all the units to the edge where you have a great Plaza Mayor, or even a Plaza Mayor and a Plaza Menor. But this is going to require some serious juggling, and I realize the parking podium or the parking garage is driving a lot of the shape and disposition of the spaces above it. I think those are all of my comments. Thank you.
Board Member 6?
Yeah, to counter that, I think it's a great site plan. It's like the old days where the site plans were more about the occupants' needs than the developers' needs. And I appreciate all the efforts and the financial whereabouts to get to this. I think it will serve the occupants well, and I enjoy the project. I certainly don't think we need story poles on a two-story project. That's a slam dunk as far as I'm concerned. I would, as I said, it would seem to me there'd be more effort to centralize that southern trash area. But I think it's a beautiful project and well distributed, simple, and straightforward, and any other massaging would add to density and complexity and expense. And just aside, Mr. Cornell, if you add more platina to your renderings, we won't be able to see the architecture. So, yeah, I fully support this project.
Board Member Anderson?
Yeah, I would second Board Member Whalen's comments about the open space and how that relates to sense of tranquility and respite and, sense of these corridors being kind of like hospital corridors a little bit, because one can imagine if the people taking care of people don't feel that they can take care of themselves and they can't take care of people. And also the buildings maybe, and this is a very tight, the site plan is kind of tight in some of these areas, so it would, I think it would be good if they had a little bit more space to, have a gathering space so that the overall ambiance doesn't feel quite so much like a kind of, you just go back and sleep and nobody really cares what happens to the overall site. You just sleep there and go back to work. So I think, just looking at the geometry of that central courtyard, it is kind of long, and, the proportioning could, I think, be improved. But otherwise, I guess it seems fine overall. So, yeah.
I have to ask a question about the hospital corridor comment. Are you talking about the courtyards, the courtyards between the units?
Views, yes.
Okay.
And it comes in plan view only.
Yeah, I mean, I would really encourage you guys to go up and walk the Bella Riviera, because it's very similar dimensions and it has a wonderful feel to it, so.
Yeah, but your renderings dispel any notion of sterile corridors.
If I can add one thing, I don't think we've touched on it. The lower right-hand portion of the project where you see a lot of paving and a circular planter right there, that's a pretty decent gathering space. It can't accommodate everybody in the development, but you could get 30 or 40 people in there visiting, having a little event. So it's not totally devoid of outdoor gathering space.
I might add that comment that sort of activity at those intersections might occur at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other places around. So just develop that intersectional ability to congregate.
Board Member Anderson, what are your thoughts on story polls?
Well, I sympathize with managing public's expectations. However, I don't personally feel two-story building needs them. Maybe there's some alternative, like a link to a flyby or a rendering or something that could show everyone what it is.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my comments would be, I also appreciate this project. I think you can consider, this is like kind of details for like final, but different paving materials between the different pathways and, things that can encourage just not everything looking the same. I think these little paseos or pathways between the units with your undulating facades really, I don't think it will mimic a hallway at all. I do like the idea of these intersections of open space and like where people can gather. If you can add another unit or maybe not add, like move a unit from your 7 or whatever 9 that is and up to the De La Vina and then just add more space in the open area, that would, I think, improve the project. It's not like gonna kill the project, I think it's fine. I would definitely consider looking a little more closely at the trash locations and garage entrance and just how that's actually going to function. I would reconsider the white picket fence, maybe stay with more traditional, just wrought iron, maybe, or maybe it's not everywhere, just in certain locations. And I would consider, I think in your renderings on the De La Vina side where you had a shed entrance that covered 2 entries, I would just maybe consider breaking that up a little. It starts to look less individual units and more of like a apartment complex. Okay, those are my comments. Yes.
And, Chair Anderson, with all due respect to the members that are criticizing the open areas and the sizes and layouts, you know, I think you might be judging those on, you know, the typical residential projects that come to us with, you know, 8x8 second, third, fourth story balconies. All of these units have a significant personal backyard to them. So I think you need to include that in your concerns. But I do have to add that I think you need to attend to the kid zone and the noise of the kids, because it will affect the neighboring units wherever they are. So if there's kids in this, I think that you need to have a special place for them to gather.
Okay, so they're here for concept. So who would like to make a motion? Do you want a straw vote on story polls or just put it in the motion?
Through the chair, if you can just include in the motion that the 2-story development is aesthetically appropriate and story poles aren't needed, that's sufficient.
Okay. Okay, who would like to make a motion? Board Member 6?
Yes, I will make a motion for, this goes to Planning Commission. What's the next step?
Through the chair, Commissioner 6, unless the board would like to see it again before Planning Commission is to do any of their approvals, it would just be an indefinite continuance to Planning Commission.
Yes, I will make a motion for indefinite continuance to the Planning Commission with the following comments: that this is a very handsome project with appropriate density, focusing more on the needs of the occupants. There are some concerns about the sizes of the public areas. However, I'll make the statement, they are adequate, given that the balance of the units have, that all occupants have significant private outdoor areas. I would identify and carefully consider design of a kids' play area. I would consider reconsider the location of the lower trash area to see if it can be more centralized and less distance and in travel path. The architecture is very appropriate and simple, straightforward, and in recognizing some of the characteristics of Santa Barbara architecture. Generally a very well-planned and considered project. Have I missed anything?
I'll second that. Can we just add the comment that because this is a 2-story development?
Oh, yes.
aesthetically-
And that the board does not feel that story poles are necessary, given that the low scale height of this project being only 2 stories.
Okay. Okay, any discussion? Okay, let's take a vote.
Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Whalen,
Yes.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Six.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
All
it.
right, we will adjourn our meeting for September 2nd.